With the 15th pick and with the 26th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Dwayne Haskins, Montez Sweat.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sister. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Luke. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report. So, 3 weeks left. What's next? We're going to talk about all of that and then some tonight. The floor is yours. We already dropped our Redskins nightly news for the night. And so, whatever you want to talk about, nothing is out of bounds. I'm going to open up the phone lines. I've got the chat right in front of me, so I'm actually looking at that. So, I've got that. We've got Twitter. I'm going to pull up Twitter here, even though you guys never use Twitter, so really, that's a non-issue. But in any event, that's available as well. But I can see everything. Phone lines are now officially open. Phone numbers on the screen. You can talk about whatever you want, all right? You can talk about Alex Smith and what his role could be in this organization potentially. You could talk about D'Angelo Hall. There was a report about D'Angelo Hall wanting to be in the front office of the Washington Redskins. You can talk about Bruce Allen and his tenure and is it coming to an end. You can talk about what coach do we hire, the development of Dwayne Haskins, whatever you want to talk about. What should the Redskins be targeting this offseason, yada, 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 and then some. So floor is yours. I will take any calls and I will read any comments that are in the comment section. Just make sure that you use the hashtag LouisTLive to have your comment read on the air, and I will read it if it in fact is pertinent, okay? That being said, make sure you like the video, and if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louis T Network. Got a call, gonna go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Man, it's your boy Tone, man. Pro Tech Sports, man. What's good?
What's going on, Tones?
Ain't nothing much, bro. You know how to catch a stream. I come support my fellow Redskins family. What's going on with you, dude?
Hey, man, I'm hanging tough, bro. I can't complain, man.
Likewise, bro. Likewise. Man, you said you want to talk about anything, right?
Anything. Nothing's off limit. Nothing's out of bounds, bro. Knock yourself out.
All right. So I'm going to ask you this. All right. So what am I about to say? Yeah, so I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook groups lately. I don't know if you any of these Redskins Facebook groups on Facebook, but these people are talking reckless.
Okay.
People keep talking this Haskins a bust.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't gonna draft Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't gonna get Tua.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't tank the rest of the season for Tua.
Right.
What do you think about this foolishness? What's wrong with our fan base? What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with them?
You know what? We talked about this a while back, man. That's not new. I told you there are factions of the fan base, and it's every fan base. It's not just one. Anytime there's a quarterback controversy or a quarterback debate, that's going to divide the fan base into sections. Now, will it be half and half? Will it be divided into thirds? I think we've kind of talked about that here on the Redskins Nightly News. Someone left a beautiful comment that I read on the air where they pretty much said that it's split into three factions. It's the Dwayne apologists. It's the wait and see approach, which is where I am, where I'm like, hey, he's here. Let's root for him. Hope he does really well. We're not moving on from him, so let's not talk about anything irrational. And he's shown promise. Let's see where this goes. And then you've got the last group that they never wanted Dwayne. They don't believe in him, and nothing he does is going to win them over until he actually wins and proves them totally wrong. Until then, everything he does is wrong and he's not good, and they want to replace him.
True.
So
yeah, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
I can agree with the fan.
So what I would preach to you, Tones, is you can't allow those fans to get you upset, because nothing you say is going to change their mind, and they're going to be irrational a lot of times. So you just have to leave them be.
At the end of the day, we still all family.
All family. That exactly. I was just about to say.
We all have a common goal.
Yep.
We just have different methods to get to that goal.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Exactly.
St. Haskins is trash. It's on you, bro. I don't think he's trash.
Yep.
I think you lost your mind, but okay, whatever.
Yeah,
I can't
exactly.
go with
Look,
it.
we all got crazy cousins and uncles and aunts. They still family, right? They just a little out there, and everybody just know leave Uncle Junie alone, okay? Leave him alone to his little corner. Let him do his thing, but he's still family, and that's how I treat those fans. Hey, look, they may be a little out there, they may be a little outlandish, and some of them are borderline crazy. But hey, look, man, I'm not going to treat them any differently because they don't agree with me. They still family.
Yeah. I have a second question.
Yep.
I'm at 4 questions. I'm out of here.
Okay.
Second question is there any other player on this roster that's tradable outside of Trent Williams that you would want to move?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that during the trade deadline. Obviously, I would have moved Ryan Kerrigan when I would have moved Trent Williams, which was right before the trade deadline.
But I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I would have moved Ryan Kerrigan.
Yeah, I would have moved him. And now that he's hurt.
Paul Richardson.
Yep. You know what? I don't know if anyone would want to take on Paul Richardson's contract. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know when we signed.
$8.5 million.
Say that again?
Like $8.5 million a season. They trade him. They get $6 million in cap savings. If they just straight up cut him, they're gonna get 2.5.
Okay. So the thing with Paul is I don't know if anybody would want to take on his deal, because I remember when we signed him, a lot of people thought we overspent for him, which I was fine with, because a lot of people said the same thing when we signed Pierre Garçon, and it was the same exact deal. It was the same deal, 5 years, $40 million, eight per. So I was thinking to myself, if we get half of what we got out of Pierre, I'm gonna feel good about it. But we haven't gotten anything out of him. But at the end of the day, I'm not giving up on him yet, because I know there's talent in there. I
agree.
I don't think anybody's going to take the contract from us, but I wouldn't move on from him until you have a proper replacement or two. We just don't have enough guys, playmakers, where you can just get rid of a guy like Paul Richardson at this point.
I completely agree with that. Like, I think talent-wise, he's probably second best receiver talent-wise on the roster.
Yep.
After I traded McLaurin, so I completely agree with that.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, though. I like Calvin Harmon. I really like Sims, but
I'm with you.
Until we get absolutely nothing out of Paul Richardson, he was like cold, utter garbage.
Yeah.
Then you can't really move on from him. The plays he's made plays. It ain't like he's been doing absolute nothing. He barely gets any targets. I've seen this guy get open.
Yep.
Consistently. He wins consistently. Either Case misses him or before Dwayne got in there. When Dwayne got in there, like, he didn't get enough time to get the ball. So I watched him. He gets open. It's like he don't get open. So I hate people are always he's unproductive. He gets open. It's just court needs to hit him. I don't understand.
Yep.
That's not him on there. And does your percentage of Bruce Allen's firing go up more than 33%? Or you gonna stick on that 33%?
I'm rock solid on 33%, bro. Until I hear
60-40. I'm gonna say 40 for me.
you at 40.
If I see it, I can't believe it.
Right, and that's where I am, and so I'm at 33%. I think I'm gonna stay there for the remainder of I mean, unless I hear, hey, there's no doubt about it, Bruce Allen is getting fired tomorrow. Like Adam Schefter says that there's no way that percentage moves for me. I think 33 is a good number, and it shows that I believe that there's a chance, but I'm not gonna go any higher than that.
Hey, I say 60-40. I can't go higher than 40.
Yeah.
I don't want to say 52 like you said, because that means you're going to start getting hope, and your fingers get extra crossed, extra tightly, and you kind of jump up and down, like, hurt me, do it. Don't have any piss, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
God.
See, I'm not.
I don't go no higher than 40 for you right now.
I went on that roller coaster last year. I refused to ride that roller coaster again this year. So.
Me and both. I was like, get rid of this bastard.
Yeah.
And
I'm not
Black
doing
Monday
that this
comes.
year.
No, get rid of him. Okay. They'll do it after. The new year starts. No, he's still here.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not doing that this year. Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, I have one more question. The last question is, do you think there's a way we'll get the Kansas City offensive coordinator, Bielema?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance we actually can get him here? If Bruce Allen is gone, of course.
I mean, again, it's all about the sell. You know, what does he feel like we have here that he would be anxious to work with? What is Bruce Allen telling him in terms of what he would be able to do when he comes here? How much control would he have? How does the structure inside the building look? You know, the guy that is presiding over his position as the GM, is he comfortable with that guy? Does he have working knowledge of him? You know, again, it all starts though with the quarterback. In order to get a guy here, they've got to believe in Dwayne Haskins. I don't know how he feels about Dwayne Haskins. So obviously that's going to go a long way because, as I mentioned already on the show yesterday, the Cowboys will have an opening. They've got a franchise QB in Dak that's tearing it up this year. So that's going to be a very appealing job. They seem to have their sights set on higher fish, bigger fish than that of Eric Bieniemy. They're looking after Urban Meyer or Lincoln Riley, or even I've heard them even rumored to the LSU offensive coordinator. So they're looking to try to go innovative.
I'm good with college coaches.
I'm good too. And
They hire him. I'm gonna be kind of. I'm not a fan of hiring college coaches. Most of the time they come here and don't do anything. They come here and finish below 500. They stink. The team stinks. And you gotta go get an NFL coach. And it's just like, what's the point? We seen it with Spurrier. Mm-hmm. We saw it with Carroll the first time before he came back. Mm-hmm.
You know what? You know, the landscape of the NFL is changing though, Tones, to where a guy like for instance in Arizona, they actually haven't been that bad this year. You know, the expectation.
1 ain't been that bad. I thought it would be 1 in 12.
Yeah, I thought they would be horrible, and I liked him, and I liked the hire when they brought him in, and I felt like he could do some good things, and he has shown that. The offense has been really good. The defense has been hit or miss. And so, you know, the landscape of the NFL is changing. You're seeing more college principles and things like that kind of bleeding into the NFL. So, yeah, exactly.
You're right. It's starting to turn more of a college game, but at the same token, at the end of the day, if you're not one of those elite guys, you ain't the Carrolls of the world, the Tomlins, the Belichick, and guys like that, or you put John Harbaugh there too, because he's been consistent for over a decade now.
Yeah. Love him. Think he's a hell of a coach.
Other than those guys, like, cool. I mean, these college, I don't really see no one better than those guys. So, at the end of the day, those are staple coaches. So, I want a guy that exemplifies those things, if possible.
Yeah,
well. But these college coaches ain't have that either.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. But, hey, Tones, man, appreciate you calling in, bro. Always a pleasure.
Always, man. And reply my DM when you get a chance too, bro.
Okay, will do.
All right.
Good luck.
Take it easy, Jake.
Yep. All right. So that was my man Tones. Y'all make sure y'all check out his channel too. What he's over there doing, Protect Sports on YouTube. He's doing a hell of a job covering the team as well. So if you're looking for some more Redskins content, check out my man Tones over at Protect Sports on YouTube. Let's take a look in the chat. And Chuck Sharp says, you think Terry McLaurin has been the best rookie wide receiver so far? He's up there. We got a call. I'm going to come back to that question, Chuck. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Yeah, what's good, man? It's Anthony.
What's going on, Anthony?
How you doing, man? Yeah, man, I want to see, do you happen to look into any of the Redskins fan websites like Hawks Haven?
You know what? I used to do that a while back, a long time ago. I used to be all over those sites, and I just don't anymore.
Yeah, I'm finding like it's getting harder and harder, man.
Yeah. That's what happened to me. It's almost like it started out, it was great, and then it became like a phase, and then the more and more you get up there, the more and more you engage with fans that are just irrational sometimes.
Exactly.
And then it just gets harder and harder to keep coming back, and I just found myself kind of drifting away from it.
Yeah, man, I've just been getting a little PO'd on that site because they keep trying to they keep talking about bringing in Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, we just spent the first round pick on Haskins. Like, that's insane.
I mean, they're not. I'm hearing people that I deem to be rational people that think that if the Redskins had the number one pick, or let's say somehow miraculously they get the number 2 pick and the Bengals don't take Joe Burrow, but they decide to take Chase Young, that the Redskins would be compelled and probably should take Joe Burrow. I know people that feel that way. I don't. I don't feel like that's the right move. I don't think that. And this is the thing. Everyone, I don't see Joe Burrow as a can't miss prospect. It's one thing if he's consensus as like an Andrew Luck. He's a consensus can't miss. You know what you're getting type of prospect. I just don't view him as such. I think he's hit or miss just like the rest of these first round quarterbacks we've seen over the last decade plus. You don't really know outside of a few guys where you saw them and you were like, if he stays healthy, like Matthew Stafford was one of those guys I saw. I said to myself, there's no way he's not going to be good. I said the same thing with Andrew Luck. There hasn't been many others that I've said that about, at the quarterback position. I felt that way about Kyler Murray if he was able to stay healthy. Like he's going to be a difference maker at the quarterback position, but there haven't been many, and I don't think Joe Burrow is that. And so I wouldn't be willing to give up on Dwayne because of Joe Burrow, because I don't know what I'm getting.
But my thing is, isn't Dwayne Haskins the reason why Joe Burrow is playing for LSU right now? Didn't Dwayne Haskins beat out Joe Burrow?
Correct. Absolutely. Yes.
So that's the madness that I'm seeing. But me personally, my off-season plan is going to be cutting a bunch of expensive contracts. Mm-hmm. There's at least 4 to 5 players that I would cut right now, just to make up about. And I did the math the other day. I don't have it right in front of me, but I saw that if we at least cut 5 players that aren't really producing for us, we could easily have about $86 million next year.
Yeah, I heard the numbers right around like $90 million of cap space. That's the number, and then the cap is going up.
It's going to be $200 million next year.
Yeah, right around $200 million. So I think the Redskins are going to be in a great place next year, cap wise. This is the perfect time to bring in either a fresh set of eyes, or you promote a guy that from within the building that may have a different philosophy, that has the opportunity. And it's a really good position to be in if you're going to start anew. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people I know. Danny has been a shit for the last, what has it been, 20 years?
Yes.
But I'm sorry, man. I think even as a businessman, he's recognizing that he's losing revenue, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I feel like most likely, being that it's been 20 years of shit, he may take that new approach and say, you know what? I'm going to completely step away. I'm not even going to put in my yes man. Go find me football people to do football shit so I can get to be like the #1 franchise like they were. Because I think when he first got the Redskins, or towards the beginning of his ownership, we were like the #1 franchise in sports as far as like financials. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were up there. I mean, we were one of the most profitable franchises in sports. But, obviously we're a long way away from that now. So he's absolutely ran this thing into the ground. So it's going to take a lot of winning and a lot of work to build this thing back up to where it once was, but it's not impossible. But man, it's going to take a lot of work, and it starts with him first.
Exactly, and that's where I'm at right now. Like, I'm willing to go through the heartache of a few losing seasons with a bunch of rookies that are putting it together. Because right now, I mean, if you look at the team that we have on the field right now, there are a lot of young players that are putting in work. Yeah, I'm talking at the beginning of the year when we had a bunch of vets that didn't give a damn, that didn't really want to play. Look what we had. Now that we have all of these younger players actually out there trying to like win a job and showcase who they are, we're doing way better. We may not be winning games, but we're doing way better. I get frustrated with fans that are like, yeah, but we're not winning. I'm like, you're not looking for winning right now. You're looking to see who wants this.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, is you got some fans that just don't understand the big picture. They're too narrow-minded, and they're too stuck in the here and now, and we're nowhere near close to being, because at the end of the day, what are you really looking for? If you're a fan that talks that way, you're looking for 9-7, backdoor to postseason, and then next year going back to being 5-11, 6-10.
You know what they're looking for? They're looking for something to fill their days with the happiness that they're not getting doing other shit. So they're looking at the Redskins to go there. Yeah, go out there and win these games so I feel like I have fulfillment in my life. And it's like, nah, it's a game, son. Just watch the games, enjoy it. Hope that they do good, support your team, but don't base your entire life off these dudes winning or losing.
Yeah, it's a big picture approach, and that's what I try to get fans to understand, is that you don't want to be flash in the pan, win this year, lose the next 2-3 years, and then win again once, and then back down to the basement of the division. you're looking to be what I like to call a triple P, a perennial playoff participant. That's what I'm looking to be. And you build that from the ground up. That's where we are. We're at the ground level right now. We're building a foundation. Now let's see if we can't start, putting some solid pieces of the puzzle together and get this thing going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, man. I appreciate you taking my call.
Hey, no doubt, man.
Have a wonderful night.
Likewise, man.
Take care, brother.
Yep.
Peace.
All right, so Chuck Sharts asks, do you think Terry McLaurin's been the best rookie wide receiver? I think he's been among that group. And earlier in the year, I would have said yes, without a doubt. But I think guys like DK Metcalf have slowly kind of either closed that gap or surpassed him. I'm kind of biased, though, because I don't think any of those guys are better than Terry and what he's done this year. But especially him being a third-round pick. You had a couple of first-rounders like Hollywood Brown that we thought were going to make some big plays right away, impactful plays, and really hasn't. He's been good. He hasn't been great. I think he's right among that group. You know what I mean? So I'd put him up there for sure. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
This is Gio. What's up, man?
What's going on, Gio?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm hanging tough, bro.
Not much, man. Hey, I just want to talk real quick about Kerrigan's future on the Redskins.
Okay.
I feel like we should package him and Trent and pick up maybe like a first and fifth.
It would be great. They're not going to trade Kerrigan. That's apparent. They had a golden opportunity. You had some teams. Look, Kerrigan getting injured twice in the last 3 weeks doesn't help his trade value at all whatsoever. The most you were going to get for him was a second. Probably more realistically a third, but the second was as high as you were going to get. And that was with a team feeling like they had a chance to win. The Colts at that time were leading their division and felt like they had a chance to chase something this season. They are now in third place in their division, and they're not going to make the postseason. The Ravens were interested. You see where they're going. They feel like they can win. They were probably willing to give up a second to make this push to get to the Super Bowl. They're not going to be willing to give that up in the offseason. If you trade Kerrigan in the offseason, I don't think you're going to get a lot back in return. And let's face it, they don't want to trade Ryan Kerrigan. He is the face of their franchise. He's a guy that they want to own the Redskins sack record. He's close. I think he's like 2 or 3 sacks away from that now. He's not going to get it this year, most likely because of the injury. And so I just can't see them moving on from Kerrigan. As a matter of fact, don't be surprised if the Redskins extend him this offseason. I really expect that to happen. An extension that keeps him here for the remainder of his career. I think that's coming this offseason.
I totally agree with you. How do you feel if we have like a top 3 pick, right? And Chase gets taken, you know what I'm saying? Are you willing to trade down and pick up a second rounder?
It just depends on how far back you're asking me to trade. If you're telling me, look, trade back 4 spots.
Still inside the top 10, would you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm still in the top 10 and you don't love what's there after Chase, absolutely get the hell out of Dodge if you can. I still want an elite prospect, though. So I don't want to go back too far. But let's just say you tell me, all right, you're sitting at third. Joe Burrow goes 1 to Cincinnati. Giants take Chase Young, too.
Let's say we're sitting at 4th and Chase and Thomas get off the board.
All right. Let's say you're sitting at 4 at that point, and let's say the Atlanta Falcons are sitting at 8. And it's someone they want to come up. And I wouldn't have any clue as to who they want to come up and get. But let's just say they want to come up and get Okudah from Ohio State. I wouldn't mind trading back to the 8th spot in the draft, 4 spots to pick up their second rounder. And, at that point, you're that high in the draft. It's not going to be – a second wouldn't be just enough. It'd have to be like a second and like a 5th or a 6th or something like that. But I'd have to look at the points chart. But, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. Absolutely not.
And I really haven't heard this, but if you're, drafted for the Redskins, who's your top prospect?
Well, you already know it's Chase Young. I've said that a million times.
Well, we ain't going to get him. We know that. We ain't gonna
well, I'm not gonna say that yet, Gio, man. I'm not counting us out. Look, the Giants, I think they're going to win this week. They got the Dolphins at home this week. If Eli's playing, I think they got a legitimate shot of winning that football game. All bets are off, and we still have to play them. Let's not act like all of a sudden now we're extra special now or something. Like we're all of a sudden invincible and we can beat the lesser teams in this league. We're still one of those lesser teams, and in any given week, we can be beaten. So, yes, we're playing better football. Yes, I think we should be able to beat the Giants. However, it's not a guarantee. So, the Giants could beat the Dolphins, could beat us, and end up winning 4 games. We could win 3, and we could get the second pick. So, I'm not ruling us out of the Chase Young sweepstakes quite yet.
I don't think we're going to get it.
You're probably right. Let me reiterate that. You're probably right, but we're not out of this thing. We're not out of it yet.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get him. I hope if we don't get him, we go hopefully trade back. I'd want a guy like, hopefully a guy like Jerry Jeudy.
That would probably be, it would be between, I have to watch more on Okuda to really be sold on him. I haven't been overly impressed like everyone. Like, I don't see Marshawn Lattimore in what I've watched this far. I got more study to do on him, though. So I don't want to make any definite statements about his game. But I think the guy that I would probably take would be either a Jerry Jeudy or a CeeDee Lamb, depending on where we would be selecting.
I'd select Isaiah Simmons, man. Plug him out, middle linebacker. Now you got someone that can run sideline. He's stop the run. I like that.
I like his game. I don't like his size. He's like 220 pounds. Like, I don't really know. I mean, in today's NFL, that's fine. You see guys that size all the time, but I'd like him to be closer to 230, and maybe he could put on some more weight. He looks like a safety. Yeah, he looks like a safety to me, man. To me, his body type looks more like a safety, but I mean, he's got like a Telvin Smith type of game, and I'm all for it. But he just looks like a safety to me more than a backer. So I don't know. That's my problem with him. But obviously, he's in college. He could probably put on 5 to 10 more pounds of muscle and bulk up a bit. But generally, at the linebacker position, you usually come in, you usually are what you are. Like, you may gain 3 or 5 pounds, but you're not going to gain 10 or 15 pounds of muscle. Generally. Now, we did see Josh Harvey Clemens bulk up a bit, over a couple of years being in the league. So it can happen. It's not out of the realm of possibility. So, yeah. Cool beats.
I really like Deion Hamilton, man. They should start that, man.
I want to see him some more. I agree. I don't know. There's got to be a reason. They're not dumb. I don't necessarily agree with everything that they do, but there's a reason that he hasn't been starting. And whatever that is, that's fine. I just want to see more of him. That's all. Whether he starts or not is irrelevant to me. I just want to see him on the field more. That's all.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Free agents wise, who you targeted?
You know what? My man JP asked me about free agency yesterday on the show. I think I read one of his comments, or we were on one of my programs. I can't remember. But I haven't looked at the free agency crop yet, other than the quarterback position. So I got to take a look at it, because the Redskins are going to probably be in pretty good position to spend some free agent dollars this offseason. And we all know we got
There's a lot of ballers out there, man. I'll tell you.
Think so?
Shaq from Carolina is going to be there.
Well, he just signed a.
With Byron Jones or Marty Cooper, who's going to get the contract. Some good tight ends: Austin Hooper, Eric Ebron. But you go cheaper with Ricky Seals-Jones.
Hey, so, Shaq Thompson just signed an extension in Carolina.
Oh, well, that's fucked.
Yeah, he just signed 2 days ago. So, yeah, you'll start to see some of those things happen too. You know what I mean? It'll be interesting to see what happens, but I'm going to definitely look at the list of free agents here shortly.
Do you think we're going to sign Sheriff and Flowers?
Yeah, Flowers won't cost you a ton of money. He won't. So if the Redskins are smart, they'll make that happen. I would make it happen as soon as possible. I mean, I would try to get a deal done either before the end of this season or right after. Like, I wouldn't waste any time with it. As far as Sheriff is concerned, until Bruce is gone, I still feel like they're going to botch that situation. Like, they're going to end up slapping a franchise tag on him or something stupid. Until the next guy gets in here. I think Flowers is going to be back. But Sheriff, it's interesting because he said all the right things, but he's seen the dysfunction around here. I don't even know if he wants to really be back or not. So we'll see.
I don't think anybody wants to play for the Redskins. That's the main thing. Especially when you come to coaching. I don't think anybody wants to come to this culture with Bruce here.
Yeah.
If Bruce ain't gone, nobody wants to come here.
And that's the key. And so we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting for sure.
It's gonna be, man.
Hey, man, Gio, appreciate you calling in, bro.
No problem, man. Have a good one.
Likewise,
Merry
bro.
Christmas,
Take it easy. All right. So Gregory Lightbody says, I think we should draft a running back high in the draft. I don't trust Geis and Bryce Love. Both can't stay healthy. I don't necessarily disagree with you. What I do not agree with you is that we should take one high. I don't think we have pressing needs on this team. Running back isn't one of them. I get it that you don't trust the longevity nor the health of the backs that we will have coming into next season. I get it. But I'm not willing to divulge a high-level draft pick at a position that isn't a glaring need for this team, especially with Adrian Peterson still being on the books next season. He may even still be around. No reason to spend a high pick on a running back. I don't agree with that. But I understand your concerns about the position. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Lou, this is Mark. I'm wondering, what do the Redskins have to do to get the second pick?
In the draft. Yep. All they have to do is it sounds simple, but they don't control they don't control the outcome here. So the only thing they can do in their situation is just lose, which they're not trying to do on purpose, obviously, but they would have to lose out, and they would need the Giants to. Right now, the Giants just have to win one game, but the Redskins play the Giants, and if the Redskins beat the Giants, then it becomes a whole tiebreaker scenario. So what it will boil down to is strength of schedule, and whomever has the weaker of the two schedules would get the number 2 pick. So essentially, if the Redskins want the number 2 pick, they just need to lose to the Giants the second time they play each other. That way, they would own the season series. They would have 2 wins over the Redskins, and the Redskins would then be a 3-win team. And so the Giants would then move to the 3rd pick, and the Redskins would move to the 2nd pick. So that's it.
And how are you feeling on Trent Williams and the Ryan Kerrigan situation? Because honestly, I think we should trade them and get more draft stock.
So Trent's gone. Trent's going to be traded this offseason. I don't see any situation in which he's back. I talked about that on the video already. As far as Kerrigan's concerned, he's not going anywhere. He'll be a Redskin. I think he'll be a Redskin for life. I think he'll sign an extension this offseason that will make him as such. And I've said it already. I would have moved on from Kerrigan at the trade deadline, but that's not going to happen, and I don't anticipate that happening in the offseason either.
Thanks, Luke.
Yep.
I just wanted to get this off my mind. I'm wondering, I don't even know what we're doing this year, man.
Yeah. Hey, look, man, just hang in there, Mark. That's all I can tell you, bro. Better days are coming, man. And I think it starts with Bruce Allen getting the hell out of town, and then we'll see what happens from there and what they decide to do, who they hire, and then we'll see if they're taking the right steps this offseason. This is a big offseason for the Redskins, one of the biggest in recent memory. And we'll see what they're doing this offseason, and it will kind of give us a little bit of a glimpse into what the future might be. So hang tough, man. Hang in there.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's see. The Martin says, who do you think is the best fit to develop Dwayne outside of KOC and Eric B? That's a really good question. We'll come back to that. Got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
What's going on, Louis? This is DeMarco.
What's going on, DeMarco? Make sure you turn up the volume on your phone.
Yeah.
All right? Go ahead.
All right. How you been doing, man?
I'm hanging. Hey, like I said earlier, I'm hanging tough, bro. What about yourself?
I ain't doing good.
Good. Glad to hear that.
I mean, stuff is getting real. We may be seeing change coming in here to Washington.
It feels like it, but I'm not going to get excited until it actually happens. I've made my stance very clear. I feel like something's going to take place, but I can't be certain with this organization. Nothing's out of bounds.
Yeah, because we still have Dan Snyder here. So.
Exactly. Even if you get rid of Bruce, Dan is still here, so it doesn't really take care of the biggest problem that we have. So.
Right. But yeah, and about
the all season and all that. I think. What do you think about Eric Bieniemy coming in here?
I talked about it yesterday. I would love Eric Bieniemy to come in here because he's what the league is moving towards, which is the young offensive-minded guy that has a vision. And I trust anybody that has worked under Andy Reid because as we've seen, even going back to the Eagles days, Andy Reid is one of the most innovative minds in all of football. So if you're working under Andy Reid, you're going to have that way of thinking where everybody's input is involved and you're not closed-minded and I got to do it my way. My way is the only way that works. Andy Reid takes input from all of his assistants. They help him put the game plan together. You see Andy Reid and his staff every week having some kind of crazy trick play that they're running. And a lot of times it's one of his assistants suggesting it. And so I just love that environment that he has fostered. And I think a guy like Eric Bieniemy would bring that to Washington. Not to mention the offense that they run in Kansas City is one that Dwayne Haskins is more comfortable in because it's similar to the one he ran at Ohio State, with a lot of read option or a lot of RPOs, a lot of gun. They are in the gun a ton in Kansas City because Mahomes was in the gun a ton at Texas Tech. So they did a lot of things to make him comfortable, and I think Bieniemy would do the same if he came to Washington. So I would be really excited about that.
Yeah, you sure would. I've actually liked what I've seen, from Dwayne Haskins, how we're, young guys, looking for potential. How other fans, they're looking for wins and all that. But, I'm looking for potential for, the future.
Right. And I think we've seen quite a few guys step up, and that's all you're looking for at this point is who's going to ride with us on this journey. That's what we're trying to figure out. Are you going to get in the car, or are we going to have to leave you on the side of the road and keep going? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now, and I feel like we're filling up the car with a lot of good players that are going to take this ride with us and try to help us get back to respectability in the NFC East and beyond. Yeah, it's a really good situation in terms of some of the younger talented guys, but we got a long way to go. But I feel like if they do the right things this offseason, we could actually expedite that process. But we'll see what happens. But hey, DeMarco, I appreciate the call, bro. You have a good one and appreciate you supporting the movement, bro.
You too, man.
No doubt. So the Martin asked, who do you think is the best fit to develop Dwayne Haskins outside of KOC and Eric Bieniemy? There are a number of offensive-minded guys that could come in here and probably do a really good job with Dwayne Haskins. It's just a matter of the kind of guy you're looking for. I think that the ex-Packers head coach, Mike McCarthy, could probably come in here and do some good things with Dwayne, but I'm not a Mike McCarthy guy. I'm not. I don't really love what he does. Josh McDaniels would probably do a hell of a job with Dwayne Haskins, but he's not trying to come here. We saw him turn down the Colts job last year. Like I said, you could look around the league. There are a bunch of offensive-minded guys. I actually think that John DeFilippo, who got run out of Minnesota last year, you wouldn't love him because he doesn't want to run the football, but I think he would do a hell of a job. He was the guy that reinvigorated the Eagles and Nicholas Foles and helped them get to the Super Bowl. I think John DeFilippo, earlier in the season in Jacksonville with Gardner Minshew, was doing a hell of a job. So, there are a number of different guys, but again, you're looking for guys that have a foundation. They've been in a situation that is stable, that has fostered success, because you don't want a guy that hasn't had success to come here and try to learn how to have success. You want a guy that's had success in his past stops or stop, and you want them to bring that here, that template here. So I think Eric Bieniemy is the guy that I'm kind of circling right now. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, what's up? This is Brody.
What's going on, man?
Hey, I got a kind of a weird thought, but I seen the article talking about maybe Ron Rivera and everything about how
how he's such a family man. Could we maybe see a cutting of a player like Reuben Foster with a troubled past?
Well, I mean, that's assuming that Ron Rivera were coming here. I don't think he's coming here, but I don't think Ron Rivera would cut a guy like Reuben Foster because of his past transgressions. If something were to happen in the future, then that would probably be a discussion then. But you know, again, he was not only found not liable. Okay, I'm not saying that he's not guilty, but they didn't find enough evidence to charge him with an actual crime. So charges were dropped, but you don't want to get rid of a guy based off of something that someone else said. You need proof, tangible proof. The Redskins stuck their neck out there for him when it was the kitchen was as hot as it's ever going to get, and they were willing to risk their reputation, albeit there isn't one really there to be saved or had for that matter. But whatever was left of it, they stuck their neck out there for him. There's no way they're going to cut ties with him at this point, unless he were to do something this offseason to put himself in a negative light that forces the Redskins to say, you know what, you just don't get it, and they move on from him. But just hiring a coach, most likely not going to see a guy like Reuben Foster being cut.
How do you feel like that? How could you see that middle linebacker position playing out next year, assuming we bring back a guy like Bostic? We got Cole Holcomb, who's having a good year, and Sean Dion Hamilton, which has proven to be a decent coverage linebacker, at least to my eyes.
Yeah. I think you just named it. You know, Cole Holcomb, Sean Dion Hamilton, John Bostic, and then Reuben Foster would be your fourth inside linebacker. Now, that's assuming that the Redskins don't make a switch to a 4-3 defense. Again, the next coach that comes in here, that's going to be really critical to see what they decide to do with their staff. And then the guy that they hire, what is his defensive philosophy? Is he a 4-3 guy? Is he a 3-4 guy? Coaches generally have a scheme in mind when they go to a specific place, or like in Kansas City, for instance, for years, they were running a 3-4 defense under Bob Sutton. And then Steve Spagnuolo is hired, and he comes in, and they're running a 4-3. You know, so it just all depends on, you know, the coach that you bring in and what he's familiar with and what he's comfortable running. And I think the Redskins personnel screams 4-3, but the guy that's calling the plays has to be comfortable calling a 4-3 defensive front. So we'll see what happens, but I think those are going to be your four inside backers when it's all said and done.
I think a 4-3 would fit them pretty good. I think they got the good personnel.
Yeah.
I think having like a 1A, 1B starter with Matt Ioannidis and Deron Payne or Jonathan Allen, you know, whoever's the odd guy on the bench would basically also be a starter with how much he's rotating.
Yep.
I think it'd fit good.
Yep, absolutely. I feel the same exact way. I just feel like I would like to see those guys get an opportunity to be penetrators instead of two gappers where they're just eating up space and blockers. I'd like to see them actually be able to penetrate through the line of scrimmage and be able to disrupt the play instead of trying to allow the backers to be the ones making all the plays. So it'll be interesting to see what the Redskins do this offseason. That's why I said this is a massive offseason because so many changes, sweeping changes could be made, and this could be a totally different organization on the field wise. Again, with Daniel Snyder still in charge, you got to assume that there still will be dysfunction and there'll still be things going wrong behind the scenes. But on the field, the product could be vastly different depending on the direction that they go in this offseason.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to get a young offensive-minded coach and to get an older veteran defensive coordinator. You know, I think I think that's the way the league kind of went with Sean McVay and Wade Phillips. You know, I think we could see a similar thing here in D.C.
Yep, I agree. I mean, same thing in Houston with Bill O'Brien and Romeo Crennel. Like, that's kind of what you're seeing is you get the young offensive-minded guy to marry with your young quarterback, and then you get the old grizzled veteran defensive coordinator that has seen it all, done it all, that, you know, will do a great job of getting everybody where they need to be. So I couldn't agree with you more. I think that is the perfect way to set it up. But, again, we'll see what happens.
All right, man. Thanks. Appreciate the answer, bro.
Hey, no doubt, man. Thank you for calling in, and you have a great night.
All right, yeah, you too. Take care.
No doubt. Lorenzo Simpson says, what tight ends would you look for in the 2020 season if the team moves on from Jordan Reed? So, obviously, the first thing I would want to do is take a look at free agency. As a caller mentioned earlier, there are going to be several tight ends available. A lot of them come with injury history and baggage. I don't know if I want to sign up for that. You know, the first couple of names that he rattled off, Eric Ebron is out for the remainder of the season with an injury. Hunter Henry his career has been marred by injury. He's talented. Both of those guys are ultra talented when they're healthy. I just would prefer to draft a tight end. Now, I think the Redskins still need to address tight end via free agency, but I don't know if I'm willing to spend top dollar on any of the high-priced items. I might want to go all the way to the back of the free agency store, see if I can't find a lower-priced free agent tight end that I think can come in and help. That's the kind of guy. And I'll have a much more articulate answer for you come next week. I'll have a chance to take a look at the free agents in the upcoming offseason. And we'll do this again sometime next week, potentially. And I'll be able to give you guys a lot of answers as to who I think the Redskins should go after at the tight end position. But in the draft, there are several guys that I think the Redskins should be interested in. But again, you just got to see how the draft falls. But the Redskins need to do something in the draft. Even if you sign a tight end in free agency, I still think you need to double down and get another one in the draft. Let's keep going on the comment section. Gopi Sankara says, if we get Eric Bieniemy and he doesn't like Dwayne, would you be okay with drafting another quarterback like Joe Burrow in the first round? So this is the thing. You can't say he's okay with Dwayne, and then before Dwayne even plays a snap for him, you're already looking to replace him in the draft. So no, if a guy similar to when Jay Gruden took the job, and he was tasked with the objective of getting Robert Griffin III to play at a high level, the same thing will be said of whomever comes in here. Your first objective as a coach is to get the most out of Dwayne Haskins. Now, just like with Jay Gruden, after a year, he was like, I can't do it with Griffin. I can't. He doesn't want to take the coaching. He's not progressing, and he doesn't want to do the things that made him successful. I can't do this with him. Then if Eric Bieniemy came to that conclusion after a full year of Dwayne starting, then we could have a different conversation. But right now, no way. Absolutely not. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Louis T. This is Al Dunn from Sea Chicken Country in Spokane, Washington.
Hey, what's going on, Al?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Just holding down the bandwagon up here. It's hard in Sea Chicken Country, but everybody knows I'm still HTTR, man.
I hear that, man. Hey, we appreciate you holding it down all the way over that way, man.
Yeah, so been listening to the discussions, and I'm agreeing with you, man. I hopefully we just take a slow, methodical steps with this coaching hire, GM hire. Mm-hmm. Hopefully Bruce Allen gets up out of there, man, and we can actually get a real GM and hire a legit coach and have a 5 to 6 year plan of how we're going to compete in the NFC East, not just every 3 or 4 years, but legitimately compete to win a championship. That's what it's all about. So I love Chase Young. I really would love to see him and Martez Sweat coming off the ends in a 4-3 defense. Yep. I think we definitely have the talent to do it. I like our secondary. I think we still got to add a few more pieces. I think the defense we have some good pieces. The offense I'm really concerned on. We have to add a lot of pieces, especially on the O-line, tight end. We got to add a few more wide receivers. But you can do it if you have a plan. And I just hope the Redskins fans just hang in there. I know it's been tough for the last 20 years. I was in high school in 91 when we won our last championship. And, I feel like the promised land is far away, but hopefully Dan Snyder gets smart and hires the right people, and we just do the right thing and build a real good 5-year plan to compete. What's your thoughts, my brother?
Yeah, that's the goal, man. And that's the thing I've been preaching all along is patience. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. Even if we hire the right guys, put everybody in the right position, press all the right buttons, we still may be 2 years away from being legitimate NFC East contenders. Like, it's a process. Like I don't what this is the problem I have with a lot of fans is that a lot of fans like to take a look at what happens in other places and then tries to extrapolate that here. And you can't do that because our situation is so unique. Every organization for that matter is unique, but ours is so unique because of the ineptitude for over 2 decades under this owner. It's a really bad environment. It's been toxic and nothing has grown here. There has been no growth here with player development and sustained winning. None of that exists here. It's been a wasteland for 20 years. And so you're not going to change 20 years of ineptitude overnight. It's just not going to happen. But what you can do is start stacking good years on top of each other in terms of doing things the right way. And I thought we had a strong draft last year. And I think those players are going to be the foundation, the catalyst for driving this vehicle into the future. And so you hope Dwayne Haskins is the franchise quarterback. You hope that Terry McLaurin is the number one receiver that we perceive him to be after seeing what he's done this season. You hope that Kelvin Harmon is, if not a 2, a quality third option in this league. You hope that Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen and Matt Ioannidis and Tim Settle and Montez Sweat are guys that we can rely on up front leading us into the future. You hope that Cole Holcomb continues to develop and is a tackling machine and a guy that we can rely on as a key cog on the defense. Sean Deon Hamilton continues to grow. And then you look in the secondary, you hope that Dunny can stay healthy and be a really good corner for us. Jimmy Moreland continues to develop and becomes a solid slot nickel for us. You hope to see these things happen. Landon Collins looks like a good box safety. I don't really love him in coverage per se, but there's a place for him. And he's young. He's only 26 years old, so it's not like he's old. He's going to be a part of this process. So when you look at all of these pieces, if they're used correctly and able to stay relatively healthy, and I didn't even mention Geis, and I didn't mention Bryce Love, because we really don't know what we have in those players, but they're a part of the future as well. And if they are what we think they can be, this could be the beginnings of a huge, massive turnaround in Washington, but it's going to take time because, as you mentioned, we need help at receiver. We need help at tight end desperately. We're going to need more edge rushing help. All right. I don't think Ryan Anderson nor Ryan Kerrigan is the answer. But, again, these things take time. We're not going to get all of these positions filled in one offseason. The goal is to just find a way to plug a few of these holes, get better at some of these positions. The guys that we already have, we need to see improvement from them from year 1 to year 2. And so you start taking these steps in the right direction and you start to feel like, man, we're coming. And then eventually it'll all gel and mesh together. And if we're in the right position and we get the right players and we add the right pieces to the mix, we could just take off running. Sort of like Seattle did. Our situation is a little different because we think we have the quarterback. We may not. Dwayne Haskins may not be that guy, but we hope we do. But what Seattle did was they just built the infrastructure. They built the basis for what was going to drive them into the future. They got all the defensive pieces. They got some offensive talent. And they said, we're ready to go. And they went out and got Matt Flynn in free agency. And then they got lucky, and they stumbled upon Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. They got Russell Wilson. They inserted him into a team that was ready to go. And he got in that car, he took the steering wheel, and he hasn't looked back since. And they were ready to win. And in his rookie season, he jumped in that car, and they got to the divisional round. And in his 2nd year, they won the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here, but that's what you're kind of trying to do. You're trying to get the infrastructure of this team built so that if Dwayne Haskins is the guy and he's growing with this team, instead of you going out and getting a quarterback and inserting him, he's taking his lumps now. And then when this thing is ready to go, he's ready to just take off. So that's what we're hoping happens. And it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, I everything that you just said, man, I totally agree. And I know, I feel the Redskins, the fan base's frustration.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I think if Dan Snyder would be smart enough, I know a lot of people don't like him, but you don't become a billionaire being stupid. Mm-hmm. He has some smarts. And if he would just come out and address the fans and say, hey, look, we've had a long time of not winning. I haven't made the best choices. But right now, this is our plan. I'm hiring quality people. We got a 5-year plan to map this out. And fans, just be patient, and let's come and try to make FedEx Field as rocking like RFK used to be. I don't know if we can do that, with the stands rocking, but just if he would communicate with the people, I think a lot of people would actually give him the benefit of the doubt. Because at the end of the day, if you're a true blood Redskin fan, no matter if you're 2-14 or 3-13, man, you still root for the burgundy and gold, no matter what. And I think if he would if the organization would do a better job of communicating, just like you and I are just doing, I think fans would actually, come back and say, hey, okay, let's give this 5-year plan or 3-year plan some patience and work. But Louis T, I appreciate everything you do, man. I watch you every day. HTTR, man, you take care of yourself.
Likewise, bro. Appreciate all the support, man. Take care, for sure. And that's the problem, is you'll never get that from Daniel Snyder. The arrogance and his lack of culpability won't allow him to do that. He's not going to be willing to admit that he's at fault for what has happened. And I've said that for the longest time. If you would just come out and just say, look, my fault. We thought this could work. It didn't. And, we're going to go in a different direction and just have patience. We're going to try to get this thing on the right track. Yeah, people would be willing to jump on board, but that's just not going to happen. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, man, how you doing? This is Will up here, Redskins fan up in Kansas City.
Hey, what's going on, Will, man?
Well, not much, dude. Getting a little jealous of this freaking Chiefs up here.
Hey,
but,
look, man, you are. Are you the same one I talked to that was like, man, it's kind of tough because these Chiefs are winning, and yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know there was another Redskins fan from Kansas City that called in 2 or 3 of these shows ago that he was having the same problem.
Right. Hey, look, man,
jealous.
Patrick Mahomes is a beast, man, and that's just. They're just they're a first-rate organization. They're everything the Redskins aren't.
They really are.
And
it's making me want their offensive coordinator even more.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because the Chiefs are one of their fan base are one of the best fan bases. They're starving for a winner. They haven't had one in quite some time. And
dude, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, they're hungry, man. And I love their stadium. They sell it out every week. It's all red. They're not selling tickets. I get it. They're good. They've been good. So it's easier to keep the stadium filled up. But I mean, even when they're not good, I rarely have seen them not sold out. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, it's really like there's a couple organizations that you would like your football team to look like when you're, say, a Redskins fan or whoever, Tampa Bay, New York Jets, or whatever. Kansas City is definitely one of them.
Yep, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
But I do have to say, I know out of everything that's been going on this year with the Redskins, Dwayne Haskins has not looked like a superstar whatsoever. But the one thing he has done, if you go back when that Jay threw him in against New York, and then since he started till now, he has gotten better every time he hits the field.
Yep.
And I would be so pissed off if the Redskins took a quarterback in the draft this year because there's no use in it. We need to build around the kid. I feel like at least give him a good 2-3 year run at it because I like that I'm seeing improvement. He's not making the same mistake twice. Yeah,
and that's the thing is, we don't know, and that's what I keep preaching to everyone is patience. Give him time. Like everyone wants to, a lot of people. I won't say everyone. A lot of people want to run him off now because they see the new shiny toy and they think that that's going to be better, but you can't be certain of that. So my thing is, look, Dwayne is here. We're working with Dwayne, and as you mentioned, he's shown steady improvement, and he's shown some qualities that we didn't even know he was showing up with.
Yeah, his legs.
Yes.
Who knew he had legs?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that there are some things that he definitely needs to improve upon, and he'll get better at as he continues to play, and he sees more and more things.
Stay in some clean pockets.
That would be nice too. That would be awesome if he could actually stand tall in the pocket and not have to worry about getting pummeled or hitting his third or fifth step and having to bail because the pocket's collapsing. But that's another story for another day.
Yeah, man.
I definitely get you on that.
I really appreciate what you're you're doing, man. I started listening to you this year during the off season.
Yep.
You know, I was getting kind of excited for what was not to come.
Right.
I'm originally from Alabama. That's how I ended up being a Redskins fan. Cause
Okay.
didn't like any of the teams there, so I just grew up liking them, and I ended up here. But there's not a lot of really any good places to get any type of Redskin news. You know, I'm not really a mainstream media type of guy, so I appreciate what you're doing, man.
Hey, I appreciate you. Hey, I really appreciate you checking me out, and that's part of the reason I did this. Is I'm not a big mainstream media guy myself, and so I try to soak up as much information as I can and regurgitate it to you guys. And then not only that, though, we're a fan base that's been scarred, man, and all we got is each other. At the end of the day, no one else can understand our pain but us. So I just, you guys don't understand just how much you guys help me. Your therapy for me as much as I am for you guys. Like,
yeah, man. I mean,
that's what we're here to do, man.
It doesn't matter what other NFL people think about our team. It doesn't matter what the media thinks. What really matters is what the fans think of the team, and that's really something you get out of this program. You're not going to get that, you know, through the Washington Post or Sports Illustrated or anything like that. So,
absolutely. Hey, I appreciate your insight, man. Thank you so much for tuning in and calling in and giving your insight, man. Appreciate you. Look forward to talking to you in the future.
Back another time. You have a good night, man.
Likewise. So that's a loyal fan hanging tough in KC, man. I know it's tough because they got a hell of a outfit out there, and they're winning, and they've been winning. Even back to the Alex Smith days, man. They've been putting up double-digit victories since Andy Reid pretty much got on board. So I know it's got to be tough to continue to stay loyal to the burgundy and gold. But if you're a true fan, doesn't matter where you live or what team's winning around you, got to continue to support, and that's what he's been doing. So good for him. HTTR for Life says, who do you personally think the Redskins are going to pursue in the 2020 draft? First and second round picks. These questions are always tough to answer in December because free agency comes before the draft. Unlike other sports where free agency comes after the draft, free agency comes before the draft. So, and I actually like it that way because that allows you to figure out what you need to go after in the draft versus, you know, you draft players and then you go after free agents to fill out the holes that you don't get in free agency. I'd much rather know what I missed out on in free agency, and now I know I got to go after a couple of these in the draft versus, damn, I didn't get it in the draft. Let's go in free agency and get it, and now you find yourself overspending for a player that you may or may not want. So I like it the way it is, but I can tell you this much. There are probably 3 positions that I would be willing to spend a first-round pick on in this year's draft. Tackle, corner, 4 positions, excuse me. Edge rusher, tackle, corner, wide receiver. I'm not willing to spend a first-round pick on any other position in the first round, and then it just becomes where are you picking and what's the best available player because at one of those 4 positions, honestly, you want to take the best available player at one of those 4 positions. If the wide receiver is the best value, let's say we're 6th. I don't think we're going to be drafting that high, but let's just say we're 6th. And wide receiver is the best value, then I'm taking Jerry Jeudy or I'm taking CeeDee Lamb or whomever we deem to be the best at the position at that time. If Jerry Okudah is there and you fall in love with him and you love his skill set, that's the guy you take. But at the end of the day, it's one of those 4 positions for me, probably in the first 2 rounds, to be honest with you. Maybe if it's a tight end there that I love, you take him in the second round. But yeah, you're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Miss my man. Call back. So I can't give you specific names, but I can give you specific positions right now. And again, I think that if I'm a Redskins fan right now, I'm looking at, and this is a loaded wide receiver draft. So even if you don't get a guy in the first round, I still think there will be a few guys that are really high level talents in the second round. And we'll be drafting relatively early in the second round if we get great compensation for Trent Williams and we get it from Cleveland. I think that's the team you want to trade with because they're still going to have a high-level second-round pick. Won't be as high as we would have been selecting. However, I think it's going to be a high-level second-round pick nonetheless. So remember, we don't have a second-round pick. So unless we recoup that by trading Trent Williams, We don't have one. So, and that's something that we got to do better too. We haven't had success in the second round. I always make the joke that, hey, we don't need the second round pick because we don't know what to do with it anyway. Our second round picks have been horrendous, probably going all the way back to the 2008 draft where we had 3 second round picks and all of them turned out to be horrendous. That might have been the worst draft in NFL history, that 2008 Redskins draft, including the 3 second round picks, Fred Davis, Devin Thomas, and Malcolm Kelly. And so the Redskins have never done a good job in the second round. And that's a funny joke, but it's not funny anymore. We actually have to start doing a better job of selecting second rounders. Like, the second round is an extension of the first round. We've got to be better. And so I'd like to recoup the second round pick and actually make something of it. We've been much better in the third round than we have the second round. Matt Ioannidis, Terry McLaurin. Do I need to go on? Morgan Moses. Say what you want about Morgan Moses. He's been really quality for us. We've had much more success in the third round than we have the second round. That's got to end, and it needs to end this season. Let's see. Gregory Lightbody says, really important to fire Bruce Allen this offseason. We have so much money this offseason. And we talked about that earlier in the show. Robert Gamble Jr. says, do we still have a chance of getting the second pick in the draft? Absolutely. We talked about that earlier with a phone call. Protect Sports says, Kyle Smith for GM. And I've already alluded to the fact that that's probably the direction the Redskins need to go in. And I've heard a lot of people talk about Louis Riddick and what he could be. I'm not a massive Louis Riddick guy, but the one thing he does have going for him is he's been in this organization before. He knows Daniel Snyder. There is a working relationship there. So I would not be opposed to him coming into the building. I told you, I want guys that know the inner workings of Redskins Park, because I don't want a guy coming in and being overwhelmed by the level of dysfunction and then not being able to operate in the dysfunction. You need to have someone that won't be blindsided by the chicanery and tomfoolery that takes place in Washington. So I don't want an outsider coming in here thinking that he's going to change the world, and then 6 months into the job, some bullshit happens and he's looking around like, Did anybody just see what just happened? Like, this is crazy. And then him not being able to handle what's to come, because that will be the tip of the iceberg. It will just be beginning 6 months in. It's only going to get worse from there. I need a person that is familiar with the inner workings of Redskins Park so that they aren't overwhelmed by what goes on here with this organization. Protect Sports says, bro, Kevin O'Connell for head coach. You know what? I haven't seen enough from KOC to think that he's head coaching material. I will say that I have liked some of the things he's done, but I haven't been blown away by him. And some of it, I think, is still him being somewhat handcuffed by the coach. So I'm not going to kill him totally, but I have not been blown away by Kevin O'Connell in his play calling. I think he's done some really good things. And then I think there's been some things that I haven't agreed with necessarily. But it's a mixture of him being a first-time offensive coordinator. So there's something to be said about that. And then there's also something to be said about him being somewhat handcuffed and, you know, pretty much having to go with the flow of a coach that wants you to be conservative and a first-year quarterback that you don't want to put too much on his plate at one time. So I just would like to see him do a better job of getting his playmakers involved, i.e. Terry McLaurin. And I would also like to see him do a better job of getting Dwayne comfortable in some of these games. That's been my biggest complaint to date, is that we haven't gotten our playmakers of football, and we don't have many of them. All right, I say playmakers with an S as if we have multiple. We haven't gotten Terry McLaurin the football enough. All right. And then I don't think he's done a good enough job of getting Dwayne comfortable early in these ball games. You know, you're seeing sack, forced fumbles. Dwayne was sacked in the first third down of the last game. He was sacked and fumbled versus Detroit in his first passing attempt on a third down in that game 3 weeks ago. I think he was sacked on the first possession against Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Like, get the football out of his hands early in ball games. Allow him to get into a rhythm. I don't think he's done that. So, and that doesn't matter who's telling you to do what as a play caller, it's your job to get the offense and the quarterback into a rhythm. And I don't think Kevin O'Connell has done that all that well this season thus far. Let's see. DMV fan 123 says, honestly, the number 3 pick in the draft could be prime trade down spot. Tua and Herbert will still be there, as well as all the receivers, Okuda, Simmons, and all the tackles. I can't see any instance in which Simmons is thought to be a top 5 pick. I could be wrong, and they could rate him as one of the Devons from last year. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So we'll see. But you're right. That could be prime trade bait. I don't love Herbert. I don't. And I don't think anybody else is going to love him to the point where they're willing to trade up number 3. However, Tua is interesting. Again, the injury changes everything. You know, if it was a healthy Tua, 3 would definitely be prime real estate for a guy like him. The receivers are interesting, but are you trading up to get a receiver in a draft that's very heavy on draftable wide receivers? Again, I just don't. There's so much talent at receiver this year. I don't know if this is the draft that you want to trade up for a wide receiver. I think that 3 could be interesting, but some guys have to shoot up draft boards in order to make that happen. You know, we'll see. I don't know. It feels like 3 should be prime trade bait, but then again, I thought 3 would be prime trade bait for the Raiders. Or last year, I think, where were the Raiders? 3rd or 4th? I think the Raiders were 4th last year. I thought they would be able to get out of their pick, and they weren't able to. So, we'll see. I think the key is the quarterbacks. That's what a team will be willing to come up for. I don't think a team is going to come up for a tackle or a wide receiver or even a linebacker. I think you'll see a team be willing to mortgage the future for one position and one position alone, and that's quarterback. And so if Tua is able to check out medically and everyone's fine with what they hear and what they see, that could be the guy. That's the only guy. But I feel like we're more into a falling to, like, you know, and when I say falling, top 15 still, but I don't know if a team with the injury is going to be willing to pull the trigger at number 3 per se. We'll see. Just Andre says, who do you think is the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL? We had some version of that earlier when someone asked about Terry McLaurin. So the rookie receivers this year have been DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, John Brown, Hollywood. Let's see. I'm going to go through every single. Deebo Samuel has been really good in San Francisco. So add him to the list of guys that have played really well at the receiver position. I'm going to go through every division. Nobody in the NFC East outside of Terry. Dallas didn't have a rookie this year. The Giants. The guy that I actually mocked the Redskins to take is playing well for the New York Giants out of Auburn. God damn it. I can't think of his name right now, but he's playing well. He had the 2 touchdown grabs on Monday night, as a matter of fact. And it's crazy because I mocked the Redskins to take him. I think it was the 4th or 5th round that I had the Redskins taking him in. And he's playing well for the Giants. As I mentioned, he's a rookie wide receiver out of Auburn, and he's playing really well for them. So add him to the mix. So that's 5 rookie wide receivers that have performed well this season. Get out of the NFC East. You go to the NFC South. No for Atlanta. No for Carolina. No for Tampa Bay. And no for New Orleans. You get to the NFC West. I talked about Deebo Samuel for San Francisco. Talked about DK Metcalf in Seattle. No on the Rams, and no for the Arizona Cardinals. You go to the NFC North. No for the Bears. No for the Packers. No for the Vikings. no for the Lions. So that's the entire NFC. So we got 5 receivers in the NFC right now that are rookies that have produced at a high level. Then you get to the AFC East. No for the Patriots, although I still think N'Keal Harry is going to be good for them when it's all said and done. Jacoby Myers started out well, hasn't played well of late. No for the Buffalo Bills. No for the Jets. No for the Dolphins. Even though early in the season I was really high on the undrafted rookie out of Colorado State, Preston Williams, but injuries have really offset what he was capable of doing. Then you get to the NFC or AFC South. No for A.J. Brown. That's your best rookie wide receiver right there. There it is. A.J. Brown has been the best rookie wide receiver. So for the earlier question, and someone just asked again, A.J. Brown is your best rookie wide receiver this season. So Titans have A.J. Brown. No for the Texans. No for the Colts. Even though they had a receiver that I thought was going to be good, but injuries have set him back. The rookie out of Ohio State hasn't been healthy this season, but he's talented, sure. So then you go to the AFC West. Chiefs had the Pringle kid. Oh, and Mecole Hardman. So add him to the list. Mecole Hardman has been pretty good this season. Really good, actually. No for the Raiders. They had the slot guy from Clemson. Can't think of his name. It'll come to me. But he's been solid for them, but he's dealing with an injury as well. So, but you can add him to the list because he's been pretty solid for them. Broncos, no. And Chargers, no. So then you get to the AFC North. Talked about John Hollywood Brown, not John Brown, but Marquise Brown. Steelers have Deontay Johnson. He just came back, had a touchdown on a punt return. He's been really good for them when he's healthy. Just came back. So add him to the mix. Hunter Renfrow is the Raiders receiver that I was thinking of. And no for the Bengals and no for the Browns. So I just went through all the rookie receivers that have had an impact this season. A.J. Brown is number 1. I think Terry McLaurin would be in a close second with DK Metcalf. And then Deebo Samuel. I kind of feel like that's like a 3-way tie for second. Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and DK Metcalf. But I think you got to elevate DK and Deebo because they're on winning ball clubs. They're producing for teams that are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. So I elevate those two ahead of Terry. Then you slide Terry in there. A.J. Brown has been one of the driving forces for Tennessee turning their season around. So he goes straight to the top of the list. And then you start filling in the other guys, Mecole Hardman, Marquise Brown, and all of these other guys, Hunter Renfrow, all these other guys start to fill out the mix. Sorry if that was a long-winded answer, but I kind of needed to do that anyway. So, yes. But the best rookie, as I just mentioned, A.J. Brown in Tennessee. All right, going through the comment section, no calls. All right, let's get to some more comments. I want to make sure I didn't skip over any. Here we go. Keith Payne says, "You are greatly appreciated for your efforts. Much respect for the work you put into this channel. #HTTR. Hey, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys supporting me as well. XX Retro XX says, "Who do you feel is better, CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy?" Hold that thought. We got a call. I want to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey Lou, how you doing?
What's going on, man?
Oh, yeah, this is KC from DC.
What's going on, KC?
I just want to say, you called it. Montez on the left side last game against Packers. Good job. look, right now I want to talk about the cap space.
Mm-hmm.
So the Redskins are projected to have $50 million in cap in the next season.
Mm-hmm.
And Trent Williams, I don't know exactly what his cap hit is, but I know that he's gone next season, as well as Josh Norman and potentially Jordan Reed.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives the Redskins $80 million in cap space almost.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think they should do with the cap money coming up next season?
Well, they're going to be holes galore on this roster when it's all said and done. I think you're going to see the Redskins potentially clean house at tight end. No more Vernon Davis. That's going to come off the books. No more Jordan Reed. That's going to come off the books. No more Trent Williams. They're going to trade him. His money wasn't guaranteed anyway, but that's going to come off the books. Josh Norman, he's going to be gone. That's going to come off the books. But with all these players leaving, there are holes to be filled. So I think if you're the Redskins, you probably look to add a veteran tight end. And when I say veteran, you're still looking for a relatively young guy. That's been the MO. Now, that was Bruce's MO. The next guy that comes in here may not have the same philosophy. He may be willing to go out and spend on a 30-year-old tight end. Who's to say? But I think tight end is one of those positions you need to see if you can add in the offseason. I think you need to spend on your own. I think there are some guys that, it's funny that we always talk about all these guys that are available out there, but we need to take care of guys that are here first. I want to make sure that Eric Flowers stays here after what he put in this year.
Yes, sir.
I would like to see them re-sign Brandon Sheriff. I think he belongs here, and he's one of those guys that is a culture setter. I think you need to keep him here, and that's one of our biggest problems is that we don't have a lot of homegrown talent. And we don't have a lot of guys that we can say we drafted and he's been here and he's been a really good player. That's been the Ryan Kerrigan debate for a long time is, yep, he's the guy we drafted. He's ours and only ours. But we don't have enough of those guys where you feel like, yep, we drafted him and he's been exceptional for us. We locked up the Golden Greek in Matt Ioannidis already. We did the same thing with Dunny. So we did have some good eyes on those guys. But I think we need to look around the roster and see who needs to be here long term, lock those guys up before they become really, really costly, and then you start setting your sights on free agency. And it wouldn't hurt to maybe add an offensive lineman. I generally like to add offensive linemen via the draft. A lot of times in free agency, they're on the free agent market for a reason. And if they're available and they're any good, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money. So I would prefer for the Redskins to take care of their own guys on the offensive line and then go into the draft and try to address that. And our offensive line isn't as bad as everyone makes it out to be. I think we have one, maybe two holes on the offensive line that we need to really address and look at. But
honestly, there's just a lot of depth pieces just missing from the offense.
And we really don't know how good some of the backups that we have are. We drafted a couple of guys last year, and they actually could be developing really well, and they could actually help us in the future. We really don't know what we have in terms of depth. We drafted a couple of guys last year, and so we'll see what we have. But definitely tackle is something that the Redskins have to take a look at. I think I would prefer to do that in the draft. But if you're talking about, and you referenced cap savings and free agency dollars, then I think a couple of positions that I would want to take a look at in free agency would be corner. I wouldn't mind taking a look at another safety, and I wouldn't mind taking a look at tight end. And I also wouldn't mind looking at what's available at wide receiver either. So those are all positions that I wouldn't mind. And also, I think the Redskins are going to have to find a competent backup quarterback if Alex Smith isn't playing. So
that brings me to my next point about Alex Smith. Mm-hmm. People have been making noise about him playing in 2020, but I don't really buy it.
Yep.
So there's one of three decisions that they can make. They can carry him on the roster in 2020, and there's no change in the cap impact if they do that. Or they could cut him before June 1st and save $3.4 million. But there's also this $12 million insurance policy that's going to provide cap release at some point maybe in the next season in 2021, but no one really knows for sure.
Right.
The last option isn't guaranteed, but it could definitely save the Redskins a bunch of money if they take the $12 million insurance policy, or if Alex Smith agrees to it.
Yeah. I'm nervous because I think he wants to play. And I think he's going to do everything in his power to get back onto the football field. And I'm not sure how that's going to go. Obviously, Dwayne is the future, and you can't look back. But, with this organization, man, I'm just so leery of everything. And nothing's out of bounds, and everything's on the table. And if he gets healthy, could Dan be like, hey, give him a shot? It just makes me nervous.
Weird situation right now.
And he's in the press box, and he's almost you see him all the time, and it's almost like he's a member of the front office or something. So he's gotten in good with them over this time where he's been injured, to the point now where I'm like, man, I just don't know. I'm almost uncomfortable with the relationship that he has with them.
I was gonna say, I know we're hell bent on keeping Eric Flowers, but what about Donald Penn? Where do you see him in the future? Do you think he re-signs on a cheap 1-year deal? Maybe the Redskins try to go after Chase Young. I know they're not going to be able to get Chase Young. If we're at number 3, he's not going past the number 2 pick.
Right.
But maybe if the Giants win out, maybe we get the number 2 pick, and maybe Chase Young is there.
Yep.
Where do you think we should go on O-line in this draft? Because it's a really deep offense. It's a really deep tackle class.
Yeah, it's a lot deeper than I thought initially. So it just depends, because right now, as I talked about, we don't have a second-round pick, and we're all assuming that we're going to end up with a second-rounder for Trent, but I don't like making assumptions. So we don't have a second-round pick. And if you don't, much like last year where we didn't have a second-rounder either, once you don't have a second-round pick, it takes you out of that elite level offensive lineman group. Because last year we had a shot in the late stages of the third to draft Connor McGovern out of Penn State, and that's what I was yelling during the telecast. And the Cowboys ended up taking him, and we ended up taking Terry McLaurin. And I wasn't a huge fan of the pick initially because I felt like we needed offensive line help, we needed guard help. That pick has worked wonderfully for us, but when you get into the third round, it gets a little dicey, generally. It's rare that you find elite stuff on the offensive line in the third round, especially at tackle. You can find guards anywhere, third, fourth, fifth. That's why, the Redskins haven't been hard-pressed to find, quality guards and interior offensive linemen later in the draft.
The tackle is genuinely hard to substitute in the league. It's especially at left tackle, where the majority of elite pass rushers rush from.
Yeah, I mean,
hard to supplement that, especially in free agency when guys are being let go because they're not.
Yeah, like you end up with Nate Solder in free agency. Like nobody wants that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to avoid. That's why I said if you're going to draft a tackle, if you're going to go after a tackle, it needs to be in the draft. And generally, if you want a really good one, which is why we see teams overreach. Like last year, it was like a money grab for tackles. You had to get yours early, or you weren't going to get one. That's how the Texans ended up, with a right tackle. They thought they drafted 2 left tackles. They got a right tackle and a guard, and they drafted the first of those in the first round, and everyone thought they overdrafted. What was it? Titus Howard. Titus Howard. So, if you want one, you got to go quick. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
And you brought up backup quarterbacks. The guys on the market they're not half bad, actually.
No, it's actually a really good crop of quarterbacks this offseason.
Yeah,
almost.
A.J. McCarron, our boy Nate Sudfeld on the market, surprisingly. Mike Glennon, and the cap hit could range from $2 to $10 million per year. That's really the sweet spot for a backup quarterback. Maybe even around like $3 to $4 million.
Yeah.
But it's ideal to keep low, like a low investment on the position. But you don't really know the health on Dwayne Haskins. He's been knocked around a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I think that you look for value at backup quarterback instead of just signing a guy off the street.
This is the thing. Yeah. They don't want to overinvest in the position because you're already on the hook for $20+ million with Alex Smith. So they're not trying to spend too much more money on the quarterback position, if at all possible. So they're gonna try to do something low risk, low cost, and it'll be whatever. And they may even draft a young developmental quarterback, or they may get a guy as a free agent, a rookie free agent that they don't draft but they bring in that they like, and that could be a guy too. It's interesting to see what they decide to do. I don't want them to go too young. I don't want anybody breathing down Dwayne's neck. We don't need that. So
yeah, I don't want a Mason Rudolph situation on my end either.
Yeah. So,
but it's been real nice talking to you, man. I
likewise.
Really appreciate you having me on.
Likewise.
Honestly, it's a pleasure.
Hey, likewise, man. You take care. Appreciate you.
All right, man.
Yeah, no doubt. So, yes, XX Retro XX says, who do you feel is better, CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy? All right, so that is an interesting debate. Both of them are relatively the same size. Judy's a little bit shorter at 6'1", CeeDee's 6'2", but they're both kind of frail body wide receivers, right around that you're in that 185 to 195 range for both of them, somewhere in that neighborhood. Neither of them are north of 200 pounds. So I'm actually right now more of a CeeDee Lamb guy. However, Jerry Jeudy's more explosive, and it's not close. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is more polished than that of Jerry Jeudy, but Jeudy is the more of the explosive, dynamic receiver out of the two. So it's interesting to see what you're looking for. If you're looking for a dynamic playmaker, then Jerry Jeudy is probably that guy. If you're looking for someone to be a little bit more polished and better run after catch, maybe talking CeeDee Lamb. He breaks a ton of tackles. Is that just Big 12 breaking tackles? I don't know. Just missed that call. Is that more Big 12 that I'm seeing? Or is that just who he is in bouncing off of players and breaking a bunch of tackles and making people miss out in space? Is that really CeeDee Lamb, or is that just the Big 12 because they don't play defense out there? That's what I'm not sure about. I know everybody's fast in the SEC, and I see Jerry Jeudy running past everybody. So I know that's legit speed. It'll be interesting, but it's just all in what you're looking for. If you're looking for explosiveness, Jerry Jeudy's your guy. If you're looking for a more polished route runner, run after the catch guy, I look at CeeDee Lamb as a Devontae Adams type of receiver right now, but he's not as big. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Louis T.
What's going on?
Well, nothing much, man. It's your man Frankie, man. What's up, brother?
I'm hanging tough, bro. What about yourself?
Man, I'm good. I'm just chilling, man. I'm just happy. It's 3 more games left, and the season almost over. I just want the draft to come right now, brother. That's all.
I hear you, man. We almost there.
I know, I know. But okay, to start off really, so what's your take now on the Bruce Allen probably getting fired, probably not? I know that you say you at 7%. I mean, are you still there, or are you itching a little more? What's your take on that?
So a couple as people on the inside, they have pretty much echoed the same thing, that he's not going to be back. There's no way that he's going to be back, and that change is coming. And because of that fact, I feel like he's not going to be back. I don't think it's going to happen. Like a lot of people were saying that it could happen as early as this week. I think it's still going to happen at the end of the season, and I think it's going to be
that's right.
him retiring, not being fired. But I don't care how it happens. Fired, retired, resign. I could care less. Just want him gone. So I'm thinking that it's going to happen, but until it happens, I'm not going to be assured of anything.
Okay, and then Alex Alex Smith. For some reason, to me, he's very interesting now. Not just as a QB, right? I think because if you watch the games closely. Alex Smith sits in the press box with Dan and sometimes Bruce. But name me an injured QB that sits in the press box with the owner. Is Ben doing that?
Nah, he's on the sidelines.
Is Cam doing that?
Yeah. Nah, I haven't seen that. Nah.
So you have to look at that in a way. Plus, think, if Alex Smith, if he gets into the front office, right, they can move that to, like, I think, like, personal something like that, to where he's off the books. So that cap hit of $20 million could be off the books if he's a GM or something like that. It's not a bad idea. If you think about Alex Smith, he's young, and he can just be what Bruce Allen is right now, just a face. Because Alex Smith, when he goes up to a podium or something, he can present himself, and he can present the Redskins, right? He knows how to talk, and I'm pretty sure throughout all this year, and since he's been here, they've been coaching him up, getting him around the right people, the right shoulders, small things like that, grooming him probably. I don't know. Plus, the guy from Kansas City and Urban Meyer. That's his connection. But I'm liking the OC from Kansas City. I'm starting to like him. And then I know I've seen the D'Angelo Hall. He wants to be in the front office. That's not bad. That's not bad. I'll take it as long as Bruce is gone. I will take it. But I like the guy in Kansas City. I think he can come here, possibly do some things with Dwayne Haskins. The major thing, the key thing would be getting a defensive coordinator. You would more have to get like a Rex Ryan type of defensive coordinator, somebody that's been head coach already. So you got a rookie head coach, so you got a D coordinator, that's been a head coach already, so that can kind of control things when things could possibly get sour, things like that. But I like the guy from Kansas City, and I just hope we make the right decision as this Redskins team. I just hope they go, because it could be a clean slate. Really, you got the key pieces. I hope we get Chase Young. I have a feeling the Giants going to win against us, and they're going to crush their two spots. I think that if we get Chase Young, our defense, it just changes.
Yeah.
It just changes drastically. It's just that front four is crazy. Montez, Young, Payne, Allen, then Matt, then a rotation of Kerrigan. That's crazy. If they copy the 49ers game plan, like how they got Nick Bosa and all that, they copy the 49ers game plan.
Yep.
They can be the 49ers next year on everything.
Yep.
If you get the guy that coached Pat Mahomes in his second year that made him be so great, you can take Dwayne Haskins in his second year. You got a young defense. They can do things. You just need the right coaching staff, really. You got the players. It's players here. You have a 9-7 right here. You got it's a 9-7 team right here. You just need the head coaching and the coaching staff that gets you the extra two or three games, that gets you the 10 games, 11 games, 12 games, to where you're a prominent franchise. You would just need that coaching staff and that front office to match. And the Redskins will be running off the fire, but they get stuck in their own ways because of the Bruce Allen and the Jake Grudens, blah, blah, blah. We're over that. If they pick right this time, we'll be okay. I have a great feeling. If we get Chase Young, it's over. Anything but Chase Young, I don't know. But Chase Young, we need Chase Young. If we don't get Chase Young, I don't care what head coach you bring in. It's going to take more time. But Chase Young can speed everything up in a year. This could be a playoff team in a year with Chase Young on that defense, because you will have to stop Chase Young, stop Montez with his second year into the league. So he's going to get better. The guys in the middle, that's where they will get their money. The guys in the middle now, they don't get double teamed.
Hey.
You cannot double team them. You can't do that. So you got a 3-man rotation. Plus, I'm not going to talk about Reuben Foster, even though I think he's a key piece. So if he's healthy, oh shit, I'm sorry. If he's healthy, that front seven with Holcomb and Sean Hamilton, I don't care. You rotate them boys, but you keep Reuben if he's healthy and good. He's a star. You get one corner. You can get Darby from Philly. I don't care. You got Darby, Dunbar, Monroe. Put them all up in a circle and good them because that front seven is going to be amazing. So that's my take there. Louis, you keep doing your thing, brother, And, I'll be watching, brother. And to, the Redskins fan, look, to all them out there, y'all, man, just give it time. Next year is going to be a different story, y'all. I'm trying to tell y'all, Dwayne Haskins, I've been saying this for a long time. The man's great. The man's going to be great. The man just gave y'all a game on one leg, barely walking to the point. He threw darts. I don't care if it was late in the drive. That Terry catch was crazy. But y'all guys enjoy, and y'all guys have fun. All right, man.
All right, Frankie, man. Have a good one, bro. Appreciate you.
All right, it's Frankie, baby. You know it.
All right. So, Frankie does this to me every time, and he'll say some really good stuff, man. And I'll be right there with him. And Frank is selling me hook, line, and sinker. And then every damn time, Frankie says some shit all the way out off the damn beaten path. He took us off the damn interstate, damn near caused us to crash. Every time he does this to me, I'm right there, I'm vibing, head nodding, yeah. Then he, did this man just say we're 9-17? And we just need the right coach to come in here, and we just need Chase Young and get us over the top? What are you talking about, dude? This is not a 9-17. Hell, with Jay Gruden, we were 7-9. That's as good as we could be. 7-8-1, 7-9. And you tried to blame Bruce. You tried to blame Jay. That sounds great. But the public enemy number one, soon as Bruce gets the hell out of here, it all goes back to Dan. He's still here. And until he admits something or changes the way he does business, it's still going to be status quo. So, yeah, that was fun, man. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Louis.
What's going on?
Yeah, what's up, man? My name's Nash. Hey, I got a question that's kind of also what we're talking about. But considering like one of the best Redskins personalities, right? Would you ever consider working for the Redskins?
Sure.
Because it will kind of change the whole dynamic of what you do.
Sure. It just depends on in what capacity they were asking me to come on board. It's one thing to just, be there, and then it's another thing to actually be active in the day-to-day duties or, actually having an input that is, being heard. It just would depend on what they would be asking me to do.
Like, would you go directly under, the powers that be and have to kind of change, I guess how you do it? Certain things you couldn't say, I guess, after you work for the organization. Or would you, I was just curious. Because, I hear what you're saying, and, your show is a lot better than a lot of the other shows. So I'm just curious of how that would work.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously, if you work for your employer, you can't badmouth them and crush. That's part of the reason why I like my platform is because, when you are being paid by someone, now you can't really say what you want to say all the time. You got to be a little bit more of a homer almost. And that's not what I am. You know what I mean? And that's not what I'm looking to be. I'm looking to give my opinion, whether right or wrong. However I feel, I want to be able to say that and not be muzzled. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, well, my phone breaking up. I'm going to listen to you on the YouTube, man.
Hey, appreciate you calling in, Nash. Have a good one, bro.
All right, thanks.
Yep. So, anyway, I was a little befuddled, or as my dad says, bazzity, after my man Frankie took us off the interstate and almost caused us to crash. But we back on the interstate. We back on 64. We about to head up to 95. let's get back into the comment section. Trayvon Johnson says, would you mind if we signed a player like Clowney in free agency if we had the third pick? I wanted Clowney during the beginning of the season. The Texans were willing to deal him to us, probably for Trent. I would have done it then. I don't mind signing Clowney now. Problem with Clowney is it's going to cost you a lot of money. If you're willing to fork over the cash that it's going to take to bring in a Jadeveon Clowney, I'd be all for it. But how much is it going to really cost you? I don't know. But man, he's such a difference maker, and we don't have one of those. Not at defensive end. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
What's up, Louis? This is Kevin from BA.
What's going on, Kevin?
So yeah, man, it's kind of a pipe dream, but I would really like to see Byron Leftwich as the next head coach. You know what I'm saying? DC native. And, you know what I'm saying, it looks like the wave is, pairing up the young QB with the former QBs.
Yeah.
So, I just think that'd be a good look for us. What about you?
You know what? I don't hate that, Byron Leftwich, but I would like him to get a little bit more seasoning. You know what I mean? Like, I like what he's doing he's in the perfect spot right now. He's learning under Bruce Arians, and Bruce is going to show him the ropes. Bruce is going to give him every bit of coaching experience he needs. I love Bruce Arians first and foremost because what he does for his coaches is above and beyond the call of duty. He takes care of those guys, and he puts them in positions to spread their wings and fly away. And so what he's doing with Byron Leftwich right now is awesome out in Tampa. That being said, and he's done some really good things with Jameis, has Byron Leftwich this year.
Right.
But I'd like to see it for more than 1 year, and I'd like to see a full body of work before I'm willing to commit and just give him the keys. That's how I feel about KOC. Like, some people want KOC. I'm not willing to commit to KOC. I haven't seen a large enough sample size, a large enough body of work to feel like he's ready to just take over the mantle as head coach. Again, head coach is more than just calling plays. It's about being able to manage 53 guys in a locker room. It's about, to me, it's more than calling plays. It's more about two things. Yes, X's and O's are important, but I feel like once you're at this level, everybody should be able to know the X's and O's for the most part. Some know it better than others. Don't get me wrong. Bill Belichick knows the X's and O's better than, Greg Minuski. Okay, but what I'm saying is you got to be a manager of people. You got to be able to manage the personalities in your locker room, know what buttons to press, when to press them, when not to press them. And you also have to know how to manage a game, when to throw a challenge flag, when to call a timeout. You know what I mean? When to punt, when to go for it on fourth down. All of these things. And you won't know some of those things until you give a guy an opportunity. So Leftwich is interesting, though. It's funny you brought that up because I haven't heard anybody bring him up, and I've actually been impressed with what he's done in Tampa this year, along with Bruce Arians. And I think he's a guy that, maybe next year will start to become a real hot name, I think. I don't know if it's this year, though.
Yeah. All right, thanks for taking the call, bro.
Hey, no doubt, man. You be easy. Take care, Kev.
All right, man.
So, I don't know about, I wouldn't have a problem with Clowney. I'm going to I'll stop waffling. I wouldn't mind going after Clowney. And I know it's going to cost a lot of money. The Redskins have a lot of money. If you feel like Clowney's a difference maker, I do. I did in the offseason. That has not changed. If you like what he brings to the table, I would do it. But I would prefer to get Chase Young. But we'll see what happens. I would not be opposed to getting Jadeveon Clowney. Does he want to come here? Is it more about the money or is it about winning? We'll see. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Yeah, what's going on? This is Barry from Fredericksburg, Virginia.
What's going on, Barry?
I wanted to go off of, now, I can be honest, because I'm an honest guy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I dislike your posts and stuff like that, and because I feel like you're like way too hard, but like I listen to you every day, and the more and more I listen to you, I get smarter and knowledgeable. But I want to go off of what your man said, that behind closed doors. But, the players say over and over again, these players, they're out here, they're giving their all, they're giving their all. I see that with some players, especially the young players. I feel with our young nucleus, we are going to be a lot better because they seem like they are hungry, and wish the older ones was like that. But I do feel like we're almost, but maybe not quite right there, because a lot of these players like Dwayne Haskins, Terry McLaurin, Jimmy Moreland, they want to win. So we got other players in here that had that same mentality that want to win, and they're going to continue to be hungry, and it's not going to be about the money, and it's going to be about the play, the actual play. Then I feel like we'll be dominant. I get tired of the 1 year the offense is good, 1 year the defense is good. I can't remember the last time that both was actually good. But I feel like with this nucleus that we're coming in and they're showing potential, it might not take 2 or 3 years. You could turn around and be above 500 starting next year and then just build forward. But I do feel like we're going in the right direction, and we can be a good dominant team if we turn around and change up our play scheme. That's just my opinion. That's all I really wanted to say.
All right, man. I appreciate you chiming in, and I'm gonna take that off the air.
All right, thank you.
All right, no doubt. So I find this interesting, and even going back to what Frankie was saying, I agree with Frankie's assessment that the Redskins could be building a 49ers-like defensive line. I don't think we have as many elite blue chippers as they do. There's not the closest thing we have to DeForest Buckner is Matt Ioannidis. I don't think that's Deron Payne. I don't think that's Jonathan Allen. That being said, those guys are good in their own right, and they can definitely impact the defensive line and offenses that they're going up against. But if we could land a Chase Young, he would be our Nick Bosa. All right. If we could find a way to start putting these pieces of the puzzle together, we could have a defense, not necessarily as dominant as San Francisco's, but somewhere in that mix where they are able to carry us and win us some games or keep us in some ball games and give us a chance offensively. I agree that this is the NFL first and foremost. Let me reiterate this. If you get the right coach and you hit it, as my man Kevin Sheehan likes to say, an inside straight, the Redskins could be 10-6 next year. We see it all the time. Jacksonville went from bottom feeder of the league to 7 minutes away from the Super Bowl. Then they went back to being the bottom feeders of the league. I don't want that. Okay, that's what I'm guarding against. When we get good, I want to be good every year. I want to be Seattle, where I'm in the playoffs every year. You can go ahead and pencil that in. Don't write it in marker, because injuries do happen and can happen, but you could go ahead and pencil us in. All right, we're going to be a quality football team. I want to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. May not make it to the postseason, but we're not finishing sub 500. We're going to be in the mix at the end of the season. If we're not winning the division or we're not right there, we're in the hunt all season long. Okay? I want to be one of those teams that every single year they're going to be a quality outfit. They're going to have a shot. And every 2 or 3 years, they're going to have a shot to win the Super Bowl. We're not there right now. But that's not saying that if you get the right, as he said, the right scheme, the right coaches, they come in with the right scheme and the players fit in and they buy in and you draft the right players and you plug in some of these holes. Hey, the league is the league for a reason. The NFL is a league that is week to week, month to month, year to year. All right. Anything can happen. That's why they say any given Sunday. Bottom line is, every year I talk about this. There are 6 new postseason teams every year, just about. 3 in each conference. Teams that made it last year don't make it this year. All right? So, there's no doubt that the Redskins could be one of those teams that go in. All right? So, we'll see what happens, but I don't think the Redskins are that close. We damn sure aren't, a 9-7 team right now as constructed, as my man Frankie said. I don't know if we are capable of doing what the Bears did when they hired Matt Nagy, another disciple of Andy Reid, and he was able to go into Chicago. They already had a second-year quarterback, like we're going to have a second-year quarterback. He went in there, took Mitchell Trubisky, put his offense in there, put some twang on that thing, and all of a sudden they were 11 game winners and won the division. Could that happen here in Washington? Maybe. Our division stinks right now. You know, who's to say that we can't win 5 games in the division next year, go 5-1 in the division, and go 6-4 everywhere else, and 11-5, and win the division, and host a home playoff game. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that would mean Dwayne Haskins would have to take a massive step forward. That would mean that the coach that comes in here has to press all the right buttons. The defensive coordinator that comes in here has to press all the right buttons. We got to stay relatively healthy, something we haven't done in damn near 5 to 6 years. And everything would have to kind of fall right for us. You're asking for a lot of things to fall into place that I just don't anticipate happening that soon. That's why I keep preaching patience, because it is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. But if we do this correctly, we could see the fruits of our labor paying off for many years to come, and that's what I'm after. I'm not after the 1-year flash in the pan season. I'm after consistency. I want to have a shot every year, not just 1 out of every 4 or 5. So that's what I'm after. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with? Okay. All right. Junior 13 says, short and sweet, we need some damn pass rushers. Can't wait for your draft videos. Those are coming shortly. David the Real Thomas says, Browns may get the Chiefs offensive coordinator. John Dorsey Chiefs connection. That makes sense. If they fire Freddie Kitchens, there is a connection there between John Dorsey and Eric Bieniemy. The quarterback in Cleveland, more established than the one here. The offense that they run, more online and on par with what they do in Kansas City. They have a ex-Kansas City Chief in Kareem Hunt, so he knows. And remember, Eric Bieniemy, before he got the offensive coordinator job, was what? The running backs coach in Kansas City, which means he knows Kareem Hunt intimately, knows what he's capable of. Not to mention they got Nick Chubb, who's a stud and leading the league currently in rushing as we speak right now. There's a lot of talent on that football team. That would probably be a great destination for Eric Bieniemy. So I keep telling you guys, don't become fixated on specific candidates. As I mentioned to you before, we are low on the totem pole in terms of job availabilities. We're probably down at the bottom of the list. There are going to be ample jobs that come available that look, feel, smell, and probably are actually better than the one here in Washington. And that's the dilemma that we face, is that, yeah, you can want whoever you want. You can want Mike Tomlin. You can want David Shaw. You can want Eric Bieniemy. You can want Josh McDaniels. You can want whoever you want. They've got to also want you. And that's where we kind of fall short. So we'll see. That's a great point made by David the Real Thomas. Is that because I think I talked about it in my podcast. I do believe the Browns are going to fire Freddie Kitchens after one season. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, this is Steve from South Carolina.
What's going on, Steve?
Hey, man. First of all, I just want to say I enjoy your show. I enjoy what you do.
Appreciate it.
I'm a big Redskins fan.
Yep. Appreciate that, man.
And, am I online right now?
You are.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just wanted to say that if we're looking for a GM next season, I would love to see Joe Gibbs. I would love to see Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, Joe's not coming back.
I think everything he touched turns to gold.
I don't disagree with you. But Joe's not coming back in that capacity. You know, Joe, you know what Joe has been for Daniel Snyder is a confidant, though. He's always been, you know, a guy that has been in Dan's ear, and it's a guy that Dan trusts. And that's part of the reason Todd Bowles was mentioned last year, because that's a Joe Gibbs guy. And Joe swears by Todd Bowles. And, you know, that's part of the reason that Todd Bowles even showed up was out of respect for Joe Gibbs. He wasn't coming here in any capacity, defensive coordinator, head coach, any of that. And so Joe Gibbs will continue to consult Daniel Snyder, but he would never come and take on the onus of being a GM. And honestly speaking, I wouldn't want him to, because this league has passed Joe by in that regard. Like, remember, Joe was never around for free agency. When he did all of his winning, it was before free agency. He left right as free agency started. The first year of free agency was the year Joe Gibbs left. And when he came back, everything was different. And you could tell Joe was in over his head when he started trying to make personnel decisions. That's how we ended up with like the Adam Archulettas of the world and the Jeremiah Trotters and some of those guys. That's not what Joe Gibbs does. He's a hell of a coach. He's a hell of a motivator. He's not a personnel guy. So I wouldn't want Joe in that position, but Joe's going to continue, I think, to consult Daniel Snyder and try to give him input and advice. So we'll see what happens with that.
I understand. I appreciate your insight on that.
Yeah.
And I know that I was just thinking that because of what you were saying about getting somebody from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was anybody from the outside, I mean, in my perfect little world, I would love to have Tony Dungy as a GM.
Yeah, Tony's interesting, but Tony also, I don't think he would work for this organization. Let me just say that. Tony is a guy of many principles, he's one of those guys, he's one of the real good guys of the league. And we're anything but. And so I think he knows enough about this organization and the way it's been run to stay away. I don't think you would get a guy the caliber of a Tony Dungy unless Tony wanted to do it, and he's got a great job on TV. I don't think he would want to mess that up coming and working in a front office. It's just too grueling. When you get to the age of a guy like Tony Dungy, where you've been a head coach, you've grinded your whole life, you want to be able to have a nice, cushy desk job on TV where you still get to see your family every day. So, you want somebody hungry, young, that wants this job and everything that comes with it. And so that's why I think you want a guy that's in the building that's already grinding, or you want a guy outside the building, but this is what they want to do. So, yeah.
Okay. One more thing, and I'm going to let you...
Sure.
I was watching, you were saying something about, like we don't really have the talent that people really praise us for on the D line.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking that I think, like in the draft, we should really get a real heavy set space eater nose tackle.
If we're going to continue to play the 3-4 defense, I would not be opposed to that. You don't need to do that in the earlier rounds though. But I don't think Deron Payne's a nose tackle. I don't think Matt Ioannidis nor Jonathan Allen fit that description. Like, I feel like they're being played out of position. That's why we should be playing a 4-3. All of those guys have the ability to be a 3 or 1 tech. I don't see any of them being a nose, or a zero technique. Like,
because I really see us being like pushed around a lot in the inside. I think we just need somebody right there at the point of attack, right there in the middle to hold it down. So guys like Deron Payne and Allen and Ioannidis can do their thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like if you're gonna stick with this defense, you need a different type of guy there, not those guys. That's not what their bodies are conditioned to do. So I would just prefer them to switch to a 4-3 personally myself.
Yeah. We need to go back to that. Ever since we went to the 3-4, we wasn't any good.
Yeah.
At that, the 4-3 is where we should be. And if you want to go back to 4-3, we need to go back to RFK. I don't know why we left RFK Stadium.
It was run down at the very end. They needed to get a new stadium, but they just effed that whole process up, and they're in the current process of effing up the next process, and hopefully they get it right, because the stadium should be in DC. It should be at the either at the old RFK site, or it should be somewhere in DC. That's where it belongs.
That's where it belongs.
But again, do they want to do that? Not the Redskins, but does the city actually want to do that? There are a lot of people that don't like the way the Redskins run their organization, don't want to get in bed with Daniel Snyder, and aren't willing to give him the money or the support that he's looking for. And thus, you find yourself in this dilemma of where the stadium's going to end up. Is it going to be in Maryland again, which is a nightmare, where it is now in Landover? Are you going to come to Virginia? Virginia's already said, nah, we good. We're going to pass. So to me, it's really D.C. or Maryland, and I'd prefer it to be in D.C., but there's a lot of space out there where they built the casino at. So we'll see where that MGM is, because I could see them going out there, but honestly speaking, it belongs in D.C. It belongs in the city, and so we'll see what they do with that as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, man. I really enjoyed talking to you. Appreciate you letting me on your show, man. Say my little piece.
Hey, no doubt, Steve, man. I appreciate you chiming in, bro.
Therapy for me, man. I'm going through it with these skins, man.
Hey, look, bro, you're not alone. You are not alone. That's why I'm here. That's why we here, man. It's like we one big AA group for the Redskins, bro. You know what I mean? All right, hey, Steve, I appreciate you, man. Take it easy.
All right, man. You too. Thank you.
No doubt, man. My name is Louis T, and I'm a Redskins fan. Hi, Louis. That's how I feel sometimes, man. It's like a big AA meeting for Redskins fans, indeed. Day 44 says, if BA is fired, God willing, I would like to go see Doug Williams take BA's position. Kyle Smith promoted to GM and go from there. Also, what do you think of D'Angelo Hall's stuff? I thought somebody would ask me about D Hall sooner. Surprised that it really hasn't come up tonight. Somebody brought it up in passing earlier, but we're going to discuss that now since you brought it up. So D Hall has always made mention of this. I don't know if you guys have been listening to his podcast, the Hail to the podcast that he does with Aaron Hawksworth. And I talked about this before because remember, he was the go-to on all Trent Williams stuff early on in the offseason and at the beginning of the regular season. All the news coming out about Trent Williams pretty much was coming out via D'Angelo Hall. And on that podcast, on numerous occasions, he's talked about wanting to be a GM in this league. Not necessarily just for the Redskins, but just a GM in general. And he said there are so many different things he would have done as a Redskins GM, and how many directions he would have went in differently than what they've done as an organization since he's left. And he's a guy that strikes me as someone that can identify talent. He's someone that identifies well with the players. The thing I would worry about with him right now is that he was just in the locker room with a lot of these guys. So there's that relationship that he has with these guys that he may not be able to separate, and he probably will be able to. I don't know that for a fact. I can't confirm nor deny this, but I don't know if he'll be able to separate the relationship he had with those guys in the locker room versus, hey, I'm now the GM. I got to make a decision. This is a guy that I went to war with, but now I got to cut him. You know what I mean? Or I got to call him in the office and I got to get him to restructure. And if he doesn't want to, we got to get rid of him. Like, it's kind of hard to ask a dude to do that. But at the same token, I know he does relate really well to the young players. I saw a tweet from Junior Gillette that said, look, D'Angelo Hall was one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, I came to Washington. I had free agent visits with multiple teams, but D'Angelo was the guy that sold me here on Washington, and I didn't need to go anywhere else after talking to D Hall. He can relate to the players. I know a lot of these guys he took under his wing as he was getting up there as an aging veteran. I remember listening to Dunny after a really good game that he had last season, coming on the post-game show, and D'Angelo Hall at the time was working for CSN Washington, and he was doing the post-game show, and he came on the set and talked to Dunny, and you could see Dunny's face light up, and he called him OG because that's what he called him when he was on the team, and there's a rapport there. D'Angelo Hall has that ability to have a rapport with these young guys. He can relate to them. So on one hand, I see the potential. I think he can identify talent. He's done this for long enough to be able to identify talent. So I do think there is that ability as well. But again, as I've mentioned, I don't know. And we've seen guys like John Lynch, for instance, go from the booth to the front office and really make a seamless transition. So it's not like we haven't seen guys that have had no experience jump in there and actually do a hell of a job. It was Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch who came together and constructed what you see in front of you as this San Francisco 49ers conglomerate and juggernaut now. They did that together. You know, could D'Angelo Hall come in, hire a coach? They put their heads together along with, you know, if anybody stays inside the building or whatever the case may be. Could that happen? Maybe. I highly unlikely, though. You know, they wouldn't even hire D'Angelo as a defensive backs coach. That's what he wanted to do initially. Was he interviewed for the defensive backs coach position, and they didn't hire him. For whatever reason. I can't speak to why they did or didn't do that. He said on his podcast that they decided to go with a veteran coach. They ended up hiring the ex-Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator. Oh, shucks. What is his name? I can't even remember his name, but he's a veteran. And remember, he wasn't even in the league last year. He was out of football, the guy that they decided to hire. But anyway, he said they wanted to go with someone with a little bit more experience. Whatever. I would prefer them hire D'Angelo Hall, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, D. Hall is a guy that I'm intrigued by, but I don't necessarily think that's the direction the Redskins will go in. So we'll see about what happens with that. I don't think there's anything to that right now. XX Retro XX says, we should have drafted Drew Lock. Well, that ship has sailed, you know, and I was the biggest Drew Lock supporter, but that ship has sailed. So Dominic Garland with the super chat. So let me go ahead and read that really quick. Dominic Garland says, what do you think of the Patriots cheating? You know what? I honestly don't believe that the Patriots are cheating on this particular front. Like, think about this. Think about it from this perspective. If you would have told me they were videotaping the Ravens at a Browns game, then I would have been like, okay, yeah, I get that. It's the Cincinnati Bengals, the 1-12 Cincinnati Bengals. If they're going to cheat, don't you think they would do it against a much better opponent? Do you really think they would risk getting in trouble with the league, and you already know the league is on a witch hunt and they're out to get the Patriots? Do you really think they would risk it? Think about this for a second. On the 1-12 Cincinnati Bengals. It just doesn't make any sense to me. That's the position that I've taken all along. Is like, hey, I get it. It's the Patriots. They've got a history. I understand. But if you would have told me they were recording the Ravens, or you would have said, hey, man, caught them recording the Kansas City Chiefs, I'd have said, okay, that shit makes sense. These bastards. Man, they over here videotaping the Houston Texans on the sidelines on the road. Okay, yeah, all right. Got their ass red-handed. It's the Cincinnati Bengals, man. Now, if you tell me in some weird way that Cincinnati has ties to Baltimore and what they do, and you tell me, look, you know, Zach Taylor came from this place and he's connected to Greg Roman, who is the OC in Baltimore, and so a lot of their signals are the same, and so you can get a kind of a heads up on what they're doing because their verbiage and their signals are kind of one and the same because they came from the same tree, then I would say, okay, all right, now you got the smoking gun. But it's the 1-12 Bengals, man. I honestly don't know what the hell's going on here. What are we talking about? Seriously. So that's what I think about the Patriots. But anyway, I digress. Going back and checking the comment section. I got a call. I'm about to take that. Let me make sure there are no more super chats before I take this call. See. All right. All right. So all right. Let's get to a spot Here we are. All right. So I missed that call. So I'm going to read some more comments until we get another call. Rashad Brooks says, I've been waiting on ESPN notification saying that we have fired Bruce Allen. I will be jumping for joy. Every time my phone goes off with any kind of a notification, I always run to check it over these last 2 days. I don't think anything's happening, so I probably need to stop doing that at this point. Gregory Lightbody says, I would take Terry because he's producing on an offense where he's consistently being bracketed and is in the worst QB situation. I wouldn't say he's in the worst QB situation, but I understand where you're coming from. For sure. Wahoo Brad 24 says, you mentioned the fact that we need a backup QB next year. Do you think Fitzmagic would be a good option for us? No, because anywhere he goes, he plays. I do not want Ryan Fitzpatrick because if you take Ryan Fitzpatrick and you sign him, he will weasel his way into the starting lineup somehow. That means your quarterback is going to get injured and Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to have to play. No. Yin Yang Domain says, thanks for your program and the hard work you put in. What do you think about Callahan making a jump to GM if he is offered the job? Hell no on Callahan. XX Retro XX says, do you feel McLaurin can be that high-level wide receiver for us like Odell, Julio, AB, and Michael Thomas? I'm not putting him in that category already. But down the road, could he potentially be that guy with the right quarterbacking? And here's the thing. So, elite wide receivers, doesn't matter who's throwing them the football. Not one bit. Got a call, gonna go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Louis T?
Yeah, what's going on?
What's going on, Louis? It's JP. How you doing?
What's going on, JP?
Good. Listen, I tried to get on for a minute, man. The lines are busy as hell.
Hey, look, they've been hot tonight, man. They've been hot. Had some good calls, too.
Yeah. I just got off work not too long ago. I tried my best to get on my break, but I couldn't get on time. But anyway, I'm here.
Good.
So, wanted to talk a little bit about the front office. I'm not going to keep you on for very long. Just want to talk a little bit about what the plans are this offseason and the impending dismissal of Bruce Allen. You know, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to save that for last, though.
Okay.
I had a chance. I had a chance earlier today to take a look at. We need a tight end. Is the number one. Is probably to me the biggest need on our football team. I had a chance to take a look at the free agency list of tight ends. There's a couple of notables on there. Wanted to give you a couple of names: Charles Clay, Hunter Henry, Eric Ebron. I think a couple other guys. I know Davis is on that list. Is there any other notable? Are there any guys that you may have interest in? Do you want the guys that I just named, or what's the?
Yeah, a caller called in earlier, rattled off a few names. All the names you just named. Mine is Charles Clay. He talked about Ricky Seals-Jones as a cheaper option as well. The issue with those guys, and this is the problem in Washington, is health, and taking guys with an injury history. Ebron is out for the rest of the season with an injury. He's had injury concerns throughout his career. Hunter Henry, his career has been marred by injury to this point. Charles Clay has always been injured, and really he's not the guy that he once was at this point of his career. He's bounced around the last few years, hasn't really been that productive. And so I'd have to take a look at the list, but I don't know how much you're willing to spend on the tight end position. Generally, tight ends don't cost you very much, but Hunter Henry would be, out of that group, he'd be the one guy I would be interested in. But you would have to keep him healthy, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy. But that doesn't mean he can't be healthy moving forward. So Hunter Henry would be the guy that I would be most interested in out of that group.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Hunter Henry. Well, the quarterback. The thing about Hunter Henry is the kid's got skills. He played well with Phillip Rivers in San Diego since he's been drafted. But the Chargers, the LA Chargers, since he's been drafted, I wouldn't mind it. I know he was out for basically the whole year all the way up until the division round game, and I know he's had a couple injuries. That doesn't mean we can, like you said, that doesn't mean we can keep the guys. We can keep them healthy. We just got to get rid of this damn medical staff and the strength and conditioning staff, in my opinion. Those are the guys that need to go. And we need to get some better guys in here. We need a whole new strength and conditioning staff, and like I said, the whole new medical staff.
Highly unlikely. Sounds good though.
What do you think? Do you think we need? I want to know, how would you feel if Greg Minuski got fired and we ended up bringing DJ Swearinger back, or is that bridge been broken?
Yeah, no, that's sailed. That ship is sailed. And honestly speaking, DJ was good. He wasn't great. I like DJ, but when you talk about building a culture, he's not the kind of guy you want around. Jay Gruden wanted to get rid of him a long time ago, and he didn't have the authority to do it until later on in the season when it got to the point where DJ was just talking out of pocket and just going off and doing his own thing. The fact that you had guys like Jonathan Allen stepping up and saying, look, he's not speaking for the entire team. We just didn't execute. This isn't on the coaching staff or anything like that. You can see that there was a little bit of a growing divide in the locker room, and you just don't want that kind of stuff. He's been a divisive figure everywhere he's been. And so I like DJ Swearinger, but he's not what we need in our locker room.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. The guy was a great leader. It's just, you got to keep I do agree that you got to keep that calling out your defensive coordinator stuff in house, but it's unfortunate though. I wanted to know, how would you feel if I'm sorry, a little bit of a brain fart. I had a chance to look at a recent mock draft. Wanted to talk to you about the Redskins. They have, I don't know if I'm not, anyway, I'm sorry. The Redskins are projected to pick Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver from Alabama. Would you be would you be opposed to that pick?
No, I wouldn't. To me, he's Calvin Ridley. He's a little bit bigger version, but pretty much same size, but I think height-wise, he's just a little bit bigger version of Calvin Ridley. It's just, what is your preference when you look at these receivers? Because there are different body types, guys that do different things. If you're looking for explosive, and someone asked about this earlier, between Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb, to me, they're the two best receivers in this draft. And I like T. Higgins as well. He's a bigger body receiver, but there's just so many receivers in this draft. Laviska Shenault, you got T. Higgins, as I just mentioned. You got CeeDee Lamb. You got Jerry Jeudy. You got Henry Ruggs, if he comes out. You got Devontae Smith out of Alabama. There's 3 Alabama receivers in this draft if Henry Ruggs, the third, comes out. It's just so many receivers in this draft. It's not even funny. So you don't have to take a receiver right away, right off the bat. But if you're the Redskins and you want to build around Dwayne Haskins, you want to get him some weaponry, I would not be opposed to Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb type early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He's got skills. I had a chance to watch him. I had a chance to watch him a couple of times. The kid's got talent. Mm-hmm. I think some mock drafts have him projected to go 3, 4, maybe 5, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk, because I know I've been on the Chase Young train for basically the whole season, and I would love nothing more than to get Chase Young, because that's a once in a generation talent. I talked to a couple of people about if Chase Young and Andrew Thomas, the left tackle out of Georgia, are both on the board. They said they wanted offensive line because the offensive line hasn't been very good this year, and because Trent's not coming back, obviously, so they want to bring in his replacement. I told them, I want to take best player available, but I don't know. I really want Chase Young, but at the same time, we got to protect Dwayne Haskins. So I'm uneasy, but I'm like you. I want Chase Young. But if we can't get Chase Young, if he goes to the Giants or the Bengals at one or two, I'll gladly take Andrew Thomas. But if Chase Young is sitting there, I will take him right off the bat.
Yeah, that's not even a debate. That's not even worth having a conversation over.
Oh, yeah.
You said you were going to talk about Bruce Allen. What you got for me on Bruce? You said something about Bruce that you were going to end with that.
Yeah, I don't know what the weight is with Bruce Allen, man. He should. I know I'm trying to be as patient as I can, hoping that this guy gets shown the door as soon as possible so we can get mouthpiece for Dan.
Right.
Unlike Vinny Serrato, but
Yep.
I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful that this guy gets fired as soon as possible. And the fact that Bieniemy is actually the favorite for the head coaching job and the fact that we have a chance to get him is great. Only if Bruce is out of here. And I mean that's just my opinion. I also wanted to talk if you would be opposed to maybe a Louis Riddick taking the general manager job.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Again, I just want somebody that knows the inner workings of Redskins Park in that particular position. And he's worked for Daniel Snyder before. He's been in that building. Obviously, it was a long time ago. This was during the Joe Gibbs era, but still, he was in the building. He was aware of what was going on. He has a working knowledge of Daniel Snyder and how things go in Washington. And so, no, I would not have a problem with Louis Riddick at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it either. The question is he willing to come back though? He was treated pretty badly over there and as a scout, but I wouldn't mind Louis Riddick taking the general manager job, but only if Bruce Allen is out of here. You get Louis Riddick in. I also wouldn't be opposed to Eric Schaefer taking the team president job. Get those guys in. You promote Kyle Smith to the general manager. Keep Doug Williams in his current position. You let those guys make the hiring process of Eric Bieniemy. Let him bring in his own staff. And Dan Snyder, stay the hell out of the football operations, you dumb piece of shit. That's all I got to say.
Hey, JP, I appreciate you calling in, man. You have a good one.
All right. Thank you very much, Lou. Have a good night. All right.
Oh, man. So what I want to say before we get out of here is that you guys don't go overboard on this Eric Bieniemy thing. Like, a lot of you seem, just because the Redskins are interested doesn't mean he's interested, doesn't mean this is the job he wants. Like, don't go overboard and thinking, yeah, we getting Eric Bieniemy in here. Like, make sure you understand that there are no definites in this thing and that we're the Redskins. Keep that in the back of your mind as well. Anyway, I'm about to get out of here, man. I want to make sure I don't have any more super chats. And I don't. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here, man. We just put in 2 hours and 30 minutes. I appreciate you guys for bearing with me for this long haul. And all the calls that came in tonight, they were excellent. And you guys in the comment section were wonderful. And I can't wait to go back and read some of the comments, especially some of the ones that I didn't get to. So I'll go back and look at the live chat and check that out as well. But in any event, I'm your man, Louis T, signing off. Remember, I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington Redskins. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Louis T Network if you haven't already done so. Check out the Louis T Network podcast. And also, we'll be back tomorrow to put a bow on the week. Redskins Nightly News. We'll take a look at the Philadelphia game. We'll give a prediction out for that game. Keys to victory and all of that good jazz. And we'll put a bow on everything. And also, I'll have an announcement for you in terms of the R3. There may not be one this week. There may be one this week. We'll talk about that tomorrow as well. But you guys enjoy the rest of your night. And we'll reconvene tomorrow on the Redskins Nightly News. Thank you guys once again for joining me. All the calls that came in, all the people in the comment section. Thank you so much for your participation. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Louis